Hello, everyone. Welcome everyone to the show tonight. I'm your host, Howard Peter, along with host Miss that thing, my wife.
Hi.
Chrissy couldn't make it tonight. She's exhausted. She's been burning the candles at both ends and in the middle, so she's she's knocked out. Uh, Tonight we're featuring just about for the next couple of months guest speakers that are going to be speaking at our Fear Fest this year. I think the first one we had was George and Kara Shoplin. Last week we had who was it we had last week? We had Tony and yeah, Tony
Yeah,
Byrne from
Tony. Yep.
and this week we're bringing you Mr. Carl Johnson, his beautiful assistant or co-worker, Miss Elise Carlson couldn't make it tonight, but we do have Mr. Carl Johnson here. He is, and I put that in on, and I snuck that in on him at the bottom. The man, the myth, and the legend, and legend.
You really
To
did.
me, and he is to me. He is a legend out there.
Larger than
He's
life, mythical.
he's my mentor. If I need anything, I just call Mr. Carl up, and he helps me out with it. And I appreciate him. He's been around. He's seen it all, people. He's seen everything and probably experienced just about everything out there. So he's the man to me. If anybody else says that they've seen it all and done it all, I beg to differ. Let them go talk to Mr. Carl for a little bit, and they'll change their minds. I could tell you.
Oh, thank you. Gosh.
Yeah, matter of fact, we got people jumping in. I got Matt Barron. He's saying
Already.
he's getting ready to start his show. That's Matt Barron, not Benton. Miss Denise Pack, that's the Packs from Kentucky. They're former tour guides at Waverly Hills. There's Mr. Ernie Pack, the Biscuit Man. That's the Biscuit King himself. And they'll be on next week. They're supposed to be on next week, Ernie and Denise. So that's going to be a show right there. So bake your biscuits and be ready for Ernie and Denise. There's Mr. Anthony, the Wraith. He's not Wraith Prince no more, people. He is the Wraith Lord. The Wraith Lord.
I like it.
And when I said something about just a while ago about you being a legend and everything, the mentor to me, and Anthony says, "Yep, to me too." So there you go.
Oh God, thank you, Anthony.
You're valued throughout everybody. And then as Beth,
Nice
Beth,
really.
she's saying hi, Carl. And then there's Denise. I had no idea. Actually, Ernie. And them two there, they get in. Oh Lord, that's a show and a half. Yep, but yeah, they was moving in. I was asking him to do it last week, but Ernie said he's moving in. He said give him a couple of weeks, and next week's a couple of weeks. So yeah, I'm counting on Ernie and Denise being on next week. They should be in their new house and everything. You work Wednesdays. Well, are you going to come on anyway? There's Mr. Stephen Woodard. Oh, I ain't make nothing up, Ernie. Ernie said he made that up. No, I did not.
Howard made that up.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Ernie, they moved into a beautiful, beautiful home. It's an old home. It's actually on the National Registry, I believe. They have a plaque outside their door and everything. And this place is about as haunted as it could possibly be. They got all kind of stuff. And then he's got old pianos in there and everything else. I mean, he's just raking coal on the fire. That's all he's doing. He's just making it worse. You can come on from work, Miss Denise. You know you can. But anyway, there's Mr. Brian Laverty. He is a owner of Parapost Network, and that's who we work with, Parapost Network. Okay. And they work with us. We work with them, and we're expanding our networks right now.
He looks very serious about his thing. Yeah.
Denise, I'm sitting beside Dee. Where you sitting next to, Denise? You sitting next to Ernie? Ernie, you're a dead man. That's all I can say. Well, let's get on with Mr. Carl.
No, I thought you had Joe Pesci up there for a moment. Yeah.
Joe Pesci.
I thought that was Joe Pesci I was looking at. Yeah. But no, but, Ernie.
It's Ernie. Yeah, that's Mr. Ernie. Well, he could be Joe Pesci when
he needs to be.
She's sitting besides patients that can't do a podcast. Yes, you can put them on the podcast with you. That's fine. I don't care. I do shows from a hospital room. I've done them before. I've done them in my bathtub. It's all good.
I remember the hospital room one, but I didn't. You did the bathroom one. Good.
Yeah, I've done one for Listen Queens. They brought me on. I was taking a bath. I did a whole show from taking a bath.
That was a comfortable show hosting for you, wasn't it? Let me see what I can.
No, not really. I mean, I didn't care. They had plenty
Apparently
of
not.
bubbles towards
Apparently
the
no,
end.
you didn't
The
care.
bubbles were getting thin towards the end, but that's all right. They still had bubbles.
Yeah, just splash around, renew your bubbles there, froth them
That's
up a
right.
little bit.
That's right. So Mr. Carl Johnson, like I said, he is well known in the paranormal community. He's in the demonology community. To me, he is the king. You put the crown on him, let it be done, and there's nobody could touch him. Nobody can touch him. I'm just being honest with you. That's my
Well,
personal
no, that's
opinion.
all right. Nobody does. Nobody touches me. Well,
So,
well,
Mr. Carl,
my birthday.
we he wants to show some pictures and stuff tonight, and I told him no. Let's wait till Fear Fest. I'm going to get you want to come see Mr. Carl and listen to his stories and stuff. We're going to have a few on here. We're just going to give you a little taste of who is Mr. Carl Johnson. I'm not going to give you a full spoonful of it because I want you to come see the man. I want you to come shake hands with him, sign an autograph, take pictures with. I mean, yeah, we've actually done some stuff with Fear Fest this year. I was able to procure Ecto One. So we're going to have Ecto One from Ghostbusters is going to be there. So yep, you'll be able to take pictures in front of that too. So we're looking to expand this thing. It's going by leaps and bounds. I mean, we're just working our way up through this thing, and as time goes on, I'm going to be introducing more and more stuff to Fear Fest. So get your tickets while they can.
Yeah,
Yeah, I am ready.
big extravaganza, really.
I like that. He says Howard Petrie is one of the original Soggy Bottom boys. That's right. You don't know who I am, but
intro to your show, it's great. I love that intro though. You're taking us down the bayou and down the paths and down a wooden bridge over the swamp. It's good stuff.
That's actual photos in Louisiana. That's actual photos in Louisiana.
Down
So
there, yeah. I haven't.
I was talking about getting a Scooby Doo van, but I can only fit so much in that place because I got to put Ecto One inside. I don't want to leave it outside because it's for 3 days and there ain't no telling how the stuff's going to be out there. Bad enough, I got to make room for a big old huge concert that's going to be in there, and we're doing that. We're setting all that up still, and that's going to be a heck of a show. So I mean, yeah, we're food's going to be great. The company's going to be great.
Oh, yeah,
They're going to have great guest speakers. We're going to have some great music. We're going to have great investigations. We're setting up investigations. Matter of fact, when Mr. Carl comes in, that's one of the deals we made with each other. One of the deals is that we made is that we're going to be. Let me go mute her right quick. We're going to be. I have to take him out to eat dinner.
Yeah, you're going to guide me down there. You know, I like oysters.
Raw or fried?
Yeah.
Which one do you like? Or you like them on a half shell, baked in
No, if they're baked with stuffing, that's great. I like them raw. You know, I mean, it's subtle flavor, yeah, but I'll eat my weight in oysters if they're raw.
Yeah, eat them. We do raw oysters. We get a little Tabasco sauce on there, and then we go to town on that.
You know what I got waiting for me for dinner? I'm going to probably have fish sticks or chicken tenders. And you're telling me about all this.
And I'll slap that out of your hand. I'd have to slap it out of your hand. I'm just going to have to tell you that.
Fish sticks. I mean, wow.
No, we're going to eat some real stuff. We're going to eat some real authentic food. I'm gonna treat you right.
I would love that. I look forward to it. It's worth the trip.
Matter of fact, where the place I want to go to, it's right on the river. It's right on the river. You can see the river from outside. You can sit outside. You can sit inside. Jackie's been there before. I brought plenty of people that, and what makes it good is that it's real food. It's not none of that crap that you buy out of a box or something. Or they're saying it's Cajun food, and then there was some crazy Cajun that don't know how to cook and they're just putting his name on it. No, this is real stuff. This is the real deal. So, I just want to, I don't see your name, but it's Facebook user. Hi, say hello.
He knows you. And hi, Howard, so he knows where he is.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I was in Louisiana. I was flown down to Louisiana twice in the month of July. That's way back in 2010. And so they flew me down there twice, but it was for filming. It was an actual investigation, of course, along with Chris Fleming. And they documented it for a television episode. And then they edit it. You know, they take like, I don't know, like it was more than 80 hours. It was more like close to 100 hours of filming if you put it all together. And then they go to encapsulate it into a 53-minute show, commercials and all that. So you don't see a lot of it, but you do see some high points. But I didn't get to taste the food there. I remember going from store to store trying to find candles. I said, "This is Louisiana, it's New Orleans. How come I can't find candles? Santeria, please."
I'm gonna bring you to that voodoo shop. I'm definitely bringing you to that
voodoo shop. Yeah, I
found a lot of. You want to see some stuff?
Alligator heads, but I didn't feet. But
I got one. I got alligator.
We got rabbit feet in New England. You had alligator claws. Yes, there's one. Oh, you look at that. It's like a mask. Oh my word! That's
the real deal.
That's a real reptile.
Yeah, that's the spinal cord they cut out of and burn it and all that stuff. And yep, that's the real deal.
Practically unchanged since the Devonian age.
That's a 4-footer. That's about a 4-foot alligator.
They have changed very little since even before the cusp of the dinosaurs, when amphibians were being replaced by bigger lizards, and dinosaurs, they were, which means terrible lizard. The crocodiles were virtually unchanged. There were only different species of crocodiles and alligators. The crocodiles came first, and they're the same. They don't need to change. They're so specialized. They didn't go extinct when that asteroid hit.
Yeah, no roaches too. Roaches neither. Roaches are still running around.
Roaches, they're resilient,
I mean, kill them things.
We are the Lord's perfect creation, and the world was made for us, and Adam named all the animals. And yet, what was here before the human beings? What will be here after the human beings? Yeah, the cockroaches, they got staying power. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, you can't talk history with my wife, because I'm gonna tell you something right now. We did a thing about the Gulf of Mexico, which was surprising. Do you know that there's a German U-boat that was sunk right off the mouth of the Mississippi River?
Wow, you told me that once,
and it's documented. You can't dive on it or anything. It's actually preserved by it's a historical site. And they have out there. They have the slave ship. You can actually see there's 3 ships in a row. One of them is actually almost like a battle cruiser or something. Had all the cannons on it, old cannons and muskets and stuff. This thing was loaded for bear, and it sunk. And right behind it, they had one cargo ship that you could see the pelts and things still, because the Gulf of Mexico is so deep and it stays so cold, and it preserved all that stuff. And then the 3rd ship didn't have anything. And it's an assumption that on that ship was actually a slave ship. And of course, the human body decomposes over time. And this has been, back from the 1800s. So you can imagine that whole ship being filled up with slaves and things like that. So it was actually, that's a historical site area. You can't go diving on that area either. But yeah, then now in New Orleans, we have the D-Day Museum. If that's what you're into, we have a D-Day Museum where you can actually go see all the Pacific and the Europe side, so you can actually see everything. All the they call it the I forgot, it starts with an H. It's a ship. It's actually a boat that landed on the Higgins boat, where the platform drops down in the front and the troops go running onto the beach. That was created from here in Louisiana. Higgins made that boat. So yeah, it's quite a bit of history here.
I'd like any of those museums. I'm actually on top of a museum right now. Beneath me is this physical structure I'm in. It's the Johnston Historical Society, Johnston, Rhode Island. And beneath me is the History Museum, and it has a lot of stuff in it. And Miss Elise Giamarco Carlson curates that. And
seen that. Y'all do some great work. Y'all do great work.
I haven't dusted it yet, so I'm, I don't want to take.
Have you investigated it yet?
Yeah, we have, and strangely, we don't get a lot of stuff. Oh, this building seems to be getting more and more active, haunted for some reason. But there's an illusion too. We could sell tickets to this place, and Elise, being the astute one of our team, Panorama Paranormal, she deduced that. What you'll hear is we'll be here for a half an hour, and you hear walking up the wooden stairs. You hear very distinct footsteps, and it stops people from talking, and they turn around because you can hear they're ascending. And we've got our ghost here. We're talking about history, even though the building isn't very old, but there is a genuinely haunted house next door to us that is owned by the Johnston Historical Society, the Elijah Angel House. But the ghost isn't too active. We've got 3 different reports of the ghost there corroborating, their testimony. But these women didn't know each other, the former residents of the house. They didn't know each other. And so here in the headquarters, which we call the barn, we hear these eerie footsteps coming up the steps. Go, go. Now, Elise gave that some thought, and Elise figured that because of the porousness and the density of the wood, just the kind of wood that is used to make the steps that come upstairs to the offices, when people step on them, they expand, and then they contract. The grain of the wood pushes apart at a minute level and comes together again. And that expansion and contraction is enough to make very convincing footsteps. It's even though it's wood, it's kind of plastic, and so you hear, and it actually follows the pattern of the footsteps that depress them, like dum 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 dum.
Did they have those? Is it a real hard sound? Because I know they had the old bottom of the shoes were, it wasn't padded like they are today. It was more of a wooden.
Well, this is modern. Even like hiking boots or sneakers can make that noise. But the heavier somebody is, the more impression they'll make. But oh no, sometimes ghostly footsteps are just what they seem to be. They're an echo from the past. And very good point, Howard, that you'll hear more of like hobnob shoes. You'll hear like dunk, dunk, like it's a little different. Because
you get that, it's more of a, you can hear like wood on, clapping more, with that wood on wood type.
The soles of the shoes were all leather. They weren't partly rubber or vinyl, and leather. They were all leather, and they didn't have the same give. So that don't. Yeah, there is a difference. You'll notice that if you hear ghost footsteps, and if it's from a different era, like say 19th century, a lot of ghosts seem to be from the 1800s. You'll say, those are footsteps, but there's something different about them. And then you realize there's nobody there to make the footsteps. But you'll hear there's a certain resonance that these footsteps have. You can tell it's a little different. And I think that's just what you're saying, because they're of a past era and footwear was constructed a little differently. I mean, they were leather shoes, but just made a little different. Leather was cured differently.
I invite anybody on the chats tonight. If y'all have a question for Mr. Johnson, please ask him in the chats and I'll put it up. Now, we're going to ask sensible questions, people. We're not going to ask him, his size of his underwear or anything of that nature. We're going to ask him real sensible questions about the paranormal or demonology. So let's keep that in mind. I know that you was the first one to been in the Conjuring house, and I seen you on the documentary that Matt Benton just did.
Yeah,
it was quite intriguing. And of course, I think you was the second person in for the Amityville house. I think Ed Lorraine was the first, I believe.
I never got to the Amityville house. I've been outside of it. Yeah, I've been driving by it, but I have not been inside investigating the Amityville Horror House, as they call it, Amityville Horror. And that looks different. That's been restructured, so it doesn't have the same kind of like windows that look like eyes looking out at you.
Right.
But I haven't been to that one. But Ed and Lorraine Warren were certainly there, and that was one of their more famous cases. The other one being, of course, the Conjuring house in Harrisville, Rhode Island. And I was there before Ed and Lorraine Warren were there.
I remember us talking about that before, and to me, I mean, I don't know why they had to bring them people in, but I think you had it under control.
I thought we were doing fine on our own, but there's a story behind it, of course.
There's a story behind everything. I mean, I know. We were just talking just before the show, people, and then I'm letting you know now. Even though I think what it is, the more notoriety that you have in the paranormal field, the easier a target you are.
Yeah.
And there's people that's always targeting people in this field, and that kind of crap needs to stop. I'm against that stuff. A lot of people are, and it just shows how much of a person you are once you start, pointing fingers. Because you remember, you point one finger and then there's three pointing back at you. So,
I haven't heard that in a while. Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, but it's gotten to the point where it's ridiculous, and that needs to stop. We need to work together in order to actually to grow this community and make this a bigger community. I was talking to a gentleman today from outside of in Texas on the Midwest. I forgot where he was actually from. Anyway, he's in middle of Texas, and he told me that people are actually like if I'm like we're a paranormal team here, we're Paranormal Swamp Investigations,
Yes.
and if we have a certain place that we investigate and stuff like that, they won't. It's free to the public, but these people stake claim to it, and you can't investigate their they call it their investigation site without paying them. But it's a free site to go to.
Wow.
So it doesn't make no sense. So you trying to stake a claim on something paranormal or anything like that. It doesn't, unless it's owned by someone. Okay, you can't make a claim and say it's yours and charge people for this because that's ridiculous. But yeah, that's what I heard today, and I was like, I was actually taken back on that. I said, really, is that happening now? I mean, if it's happened to me, and if I ran across a team and they said this is our area, and I'm gonna just give them the American Eagle, and say, you know what, that no, you don't own it. I'm going in. If these people, the owner lets me in, I'm going in and investigate it.
People tend to have an exaggerated sense of entitlement, and
right, and that's ridiculous.
Paranormal, like any pursuit, there's money in it. People, if they can turn a buck from it, and the way they do that is to become well known and popular. And sometimes I haven't managed to become wealthy from this by any means, but some people can, and it's a lot of it is showmanship, and it'll sell tickets. Now it's in the name of education, ostensibly, but it's really a lot of people are looking for.
We're doing now, Mr. Carl. It's like what we're doing now, Mr. Carl. Yep. This event that we have with Fear Fest, it all goes to charity. It all goes to charity. It doesn't. This is what we're supposed to be doing, people. Not sitting back and being another Zach Baggins. I'll throw his name there. Zach Baggins. He's profited from this field, and to me, profiting from this field it's uncalled for. You shouldn't profit from this field. These are real people at one time, and you treat them with respect. Say that that was your mother, and she passed away, and I'm investigating her home, and I come across her and wanting to exercise her or torture her. Would you want me to do that? No. You want me to treat her with respect, and I'm not going to sit back and if anybody charges you and says, "Oh, we charge." You run them off with a stick, because we're not supposed to charge. We do this for the love of it. We do it for the science of it.
Right.
And we're here to grow. We're trying to make this community and this field legitimate, really legitimate science. Right now it's still mocked a little bit.
We'll always have that. I mean, not everybody's going to believe. Can you imagine the level of cooperation we have the potential to achieve? I mean, some people do, and strides are being made, but it's that dang competition, that sense of like ego, and like, oh, I can make a living from this. And it's very difficult. There are a few people who do, but you think when sometimes it doesn't happen that often, but sometimes evidence is contrived. Things are faked, and it's very easy to fake paranormal evidence, because you're dealing with something that seems illusory anyway, and that negates progress. But we're dealing with what should be a study of the most profound mysteries of creation, let's say creation loosely, but of existence, life and death, and what may lie beyond. That's pretty deep stuff. And people can mess with that and, like just say it's a living or, fame and acclaim. I mean, I don't think it'll always be looked on like that. But when I started in this, which was now 51 years ago, I was 2. But when 51 years ago, it was not accepted. It was the boogeyman. It's like you're playing, wait for Halloween. Why are you looking for ghosts? You look, find the ghost. And there was a lot of ridicule. So I came up and I climbed up through those echelons. And Ed and Lorraine Warren did not have an easy time of it for a while. I've seen them lampooned and ridiculed. I mean, I have my criticisms about their methodologies, but I've seen them be panned by audiences, and it just wasn't right. But I will say Ed Warren handled it very well. He was at a religious college in Providence, Rhode Island, and I don't know, they just didn't take to him. He was being jeered, he and Lorraine, and I wanted to stand up and say something. I think I did, turn around and say, "Listen, we're here for these people. Why don't you leave?" If not, but of course it was their college, and Ed Warren said, look, if you don't want to hear what I'm saying, I will take my check, which is very sizable, and Lorraine and I will leave right now if that's what you want. But he did have about half the audience with him, though. But he got some jeers, and that's what people were exposed to back in the 1960s, 70s, 80s. It just wasn't so popular. But then it starts getting popular when it's televised. Once something's on television, that legitimizes it. It's got to be real if it's on television.
Yeah,
And
but
then,
see, that's the thing. You've been on just about everything now. I mean, you've been on
I've been
Ghostbusters,
on
you've been on Ghost Adventures, you've been on, I mean, every freaking paranormal show out there, you've been on it because they
pretty much
know
have,
who to they know who to call in case there's something out there. I mean, there's something demonic. Call.
I
And
do
let
get
Carl come out there and
it's mostly consulting and trying to settle people, and a lot of it has to do with propensities of the human mind, and contained anxiety. And it can be challenging, difficult to counsel people when they turn to me because, how do I get rid of this? And there's no standard formula for doing that. But it's wonderful to speak with these people and get to know them and try to be of some help to them. Like what's in my show and tell here? I have this. This is one source. Prayers to roust demons. That's come in handy. That's something I bring with me in my briefcase. I have all kinds of things. Well, what else do I have here?
show and tell time.
Yeah, do a little show and tell. Now, who are we talking about? Early, whose name is on the screen? Let me get it out of the glare.
That's Carl and Elise. There they are, right there.
Yeah, that's Carl and Elise.
Panorama Paranormal.
Yeah, a team of two. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the brains of our outfit, and she is. Yeah.
I remember you doing another show that you was doing with I forgot what his name was. He was a priest.
Father Bob Bailey, Robert Bailey.
He's a young guy. He's really.
Oh no, not because Robert Bailey is a little more mature than I. Yeah, that was James Anito, my former partner in Duo Demonology. Yes, we did some. We were both on. He was on one episode of A Haunting, popular show. I hope that gets renewed. That was a good show to work with. They're genuine, on I mean, they got to put it together and make it an entertainment, but they're not going to make up a whole storyline either, usually. But A Haunting was one of my favorite series to be on. Yeah, I did 3 episodes of A Haunting, did 5 episodes of The Haunted. I wish they'd bring that concept back, and various other ones. And James Anito was on an episode of A Haunting where he had to deal with haunted dolls. Always a lot of fun. Dolls don't bother me. In fact, my book, I have a chapter on doll, my own book. Let's see, Shadow Realms Demonology Handbook is pretty much describes what the book is. It's a handbook for, it's something you can bring in on a paranormal investigation, or I'd advise reading it. It's not the penultimate, tome on demonology, but it has some case histories in it that people may find useful. I said, oh, let's see what this guy Carl did. He dealt with something like this, and it's like things that I could have done differently. And I have one chapter called "Beware Those Dolls."
We did a show a while back. I think it was on Unholy Trinity, and I told you what that show's about. That's a train wreck show right then.
Yeah, I know. I like the way you're describing that.
We did a show about haunted sex dolls.
Oh wow! Yeah. Are you talking inflatables or?
Yeah, all of them.
All kinds of.
And
I haven't looked into them. I know they're there.
And Anthony of the Texas Wraith Hunters.
Yes.
He had a whole bunch of dolls. He recently got rid of them because he had a couple of them already, and he brought 2 more into his house, and then it was like chaos. His house was just going nuts, so he had to pack them up, and then he just got rid of them.
Human effigies, so there is some power to that through association, and then that association becomes really PSI. It becomes the force. A doll is known to be haunted if it moves on its own. Like if you set it in a chair, and then it's someplace else in the house. When you come back, haunted dolls, their eyes move. Sometimes they'll move around. And the sex dolls, though, I think they feel like they're moving, but they are moved. The sex dolls,
they are moved.
They're moved.
But I think
both moving. Yeah.
That both of them are moved
I
back
mean, if
then.
they're haunted, who would know and who would care?
Right at that point,
It's
right?
a doll thing, you know? Yeah. But,
And Irene, I think I could say your name. It's Akiko. And what happened? You didn't threw your man out. Now it ain't Takora no more. It's Akiko. She's from Japan.
oh,
And she's yeah. Irene has been.
Yep.
She kicked her man out.
oh,
She done
good. We can
kicked her
talk
man
more
out.
with her. Yeah. We'll be interrupted.
Oh Lord.
Wouldn't that be a kickoff? I think so.
She's a psychic in her own right. She's got
wow.
abilities and things of that nature. Matter of fact, for the event, we're going to have 3 psychics. We're going to have Ane Shin. We're going to have Miss Beth Allen, and I'm confirming right now Miss Jennifer Lee. So Miss Jennifer Lee is possibly will be there. I haven't heard from her yet. Last time I talked to her, I had to take care of some things for her, and I did. So I'm just waiting for her response back. And she is a strong psychic, is really strong psychic as well. And they'll be doing galleries type readings for people. So you'll be able to get your own private reading from them. If they're, we're going to try to work in shifts because they get burned out. They can't keep reading the same thing, people all day long. They have to rest, rest their spirit and rest their gift.
Yeah,
because it takes a lot of strain.
Psychics will get, but there are 2 problems with the psychic overloading, doing too much. If they run dry and people are paying to see them, if they're on a dry spell, it's very difficult for them to resign themselves. A genuine psychic, a psychically gifted person. Suppose they are on a dry spell, they got to say, well, I can't perform this week, or I'm having an off month and all that. And they have these impressions coming to them anyway. I think it's hard to filter them and tell what's genuine and what isn't, especially when they really need to receive information. And another thing is it wears them down. There's a vital force, an anima in us, and that keeps us going, and that depletes the spirit within somebody. It depletes the vital energy. Doing too many. That's what happened. They say that's what happened to Edgar Cayce. He did his own reading, and he was told that he would. He used to diagnose illnesses. It was like he was tapping into the Akashic records, or whatever source or repository of knowledge. And he was told by these voices within that if he did if he did more than 1 reading a day, he would start to disintegrate. And he started off doing 2 readings a day, and then he was doing a dozen readings a day. But then again, he lived a normal lifespan, aged. So who knows? Who knows?
There you go. There's Australia in the house. There's Miss Nikki.
Wow.
We call her the butter chicken. And there's a reason why we call her butter chicken. That girl there.
Why do you call her butter chicken?
She's newly married. She got a little baby and everything, a little baby girl. She's precious. And she was fixing dinner one night, and she put a chicken in the microwave, and she put butter on it, and she left it in aluminum foil. And of course, when you introduce aluminum foil to a microwave, that's not going to work too well.
No, I wouldn't do that. I'd do that. I've done that. Just that, put aluminum foil over it, coat it with butter for a turkey or a duckling or, chicken in a conventional oven. But yeah, pretty much you've done something wrong. Put it
yeah, but she got away with it, though. She got away with it. She burnt up that microwave. She threw it out and bought another one just like it, because this one's only a couple of months old. So she was able to get a one that resembled it, put it in its spot, so her husband wouldn't notice it. So it's weird.
I guess she pulled it off.
That's something that my wife would do. I'm just putting it out there too. She would do that. Yeah. Just so I wouldn't know anything about it. I told her, what happens if you burn down your stove? Your husband pulls in the driveway.
Go buy a new
stove sitting out there in the yard, but you got another one that's just like it sitting in its spot. It's going to be kind of noticeable. But anyway,
it's kind of hard to hide your misdeed if that happens.
Yeah, we have some individuals. We have a lot of great people that come on the show and watch the show.
I know
the fireworks are a good indicator you messed up. Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Yeah, I think does throw some sparks out, don't it? So I want to get back. You're the senior interpreter at O. Slater Mill Association. What is this? What do you interpret it?
Well, I'm not there anymore because they changed their staff. They're staffed by National Park Rangers now. The National Park
Oh,
Service took over 3 years ago, in fact. And
okay.
but I'd been there for 14 years, so it's this place was near and dear to me. Like any job, it had its hassles. Some days I didn't really feel like going in because you had like a lot of tourists coming through, but that was the mark of the place's success.
Yeah.
And we had school groups come through, and they were exhaustipating, but they were just adorable. Those fourth and fifth graders, and sometimes college groups would come through. And yeah, well, I had also had to me what was the advantage of being a genuinely haunted site. The place
Hmm.
was haunted. Why was it haunted? Well, it had age, um, it had provenance, but
So I'm
uh,
haunted. You telling me I'm haunted then?
Eh,
Because I got age with me. Look, she'll agree with
yeah,
you.
yeah.
age will bring out like a cask, aging brandy, it'll bring out the flavor, bring out the haunting. Age will, but also,
Some
yeah,
ages are good though. You like you're saying age. Some ages do
yeah, some
you
ages are
age
good. I
well.
mean, I kind of have to like the one I'm at, whatever that is. But these mills in New England and New York were notorious for child labor. Children as
Oh,
young as 6 years of age could work 12-hour days, 6 days a week, which was just normal to them. And sometimes there were egregious accidents, as you might guess. And, of course, women would work there primarily, and, but a lot of children as well. Also, rushing in back of this complex, we call it the campus, the Slater Mill campus, is the Blackstone River. Now, it's not as wide nor as grand as the Hudson or the Mississippi rivers, but it has it's one of the sharpest declining rivers in the contiguous United States. And that rushing water creates an electric charge that you can actually gauge. If somebody has basic detecting equipment like that's been incorporated in paranormal investigation, like a K2 meter, EMF detector, a tri-field meter, that will pick up the electric current that's generated by that rushing water. That's why these mills were built in that area, that region, especially along the Blackstone River, because of that sharp current to move their machinery before electric
yeah.
power. So you got all this. You got the memories. Buildings have memories after a time. You've got where children worked and women spent a lot of their lives in those mills. It wasn't tragic usually, but it was tedious. And there they were toiling away, and you got the river and back, and sometimes pretty nasty accidents. And who knows what dramas transpired in those mills. So for those reasons and whatever other reasons we may not know, perhaps content of the soil has a lot of mica and quartz in it, like which makes for a battery type. You've got playbacks of memories, and these
Mhm.
playbacks, as I call them, they take on their own personalities and they'll respond like living people. In a way, they're simulations, you might say. I think uh, they're playback. The memories are contained in the materials of the building from which it's constructed, the stone underneath, the foundation, all and the water outside. So you've got this kind of spirit in a sense.
Right.
And under certain conditions, the personalities that worked in those mills or frequented those places reemerge. They're projected, and they become the ghost. They are replicas of the people who live there in worker housing, who work there, and they're remarkable. I don't. One theory is that these spirits have unfinished business, and they come back to finish their toils and labors. But I think they're just going about their business.
Mhm.
Except some of them know us; they're aware of us. How can that be if they're playback simulations in a sense?
Right.
Because they respond like once living people, and they want to interact with the living people. Is what you call an
So
intelligent
they're not
response.
they're not they're not they're not true residual then. They are intelligent haunts.
Well, I found it in my experience. So when I was training in paranormal research in my early days with the Atlantic Paranormal Society with TAPS, we had everything categorized like is it a human intelligent haunt? Is it just a residual that's not aware of us? Is it an earth, like nature spirit, an elemental, or it could be a regular ghost, It's a living person that's restless and for some reason earthbound. Or is it a poltergeist, which is thought to be generated by a living human being and behaves like a ghost, moves things around, noisy ghost? Or is it something darker, demonic, which Ed Warren was a lay demonologist, Ed and Lorraine. That was their thing, demonology. And as I've gone along over these decades, I find that the categories are kind of indistinct. They overlap a lot. I've been in a place where, and Slater Mill, as a matter of fact, where there was a residual haunt, and every once in a while, these playbacks from the past turn and look at the living observer. They just like turn and look.
So they're aware. I mean, they are aware then.
Yeah, I think they evolve kind of a consciousness with time.
Would you think maybe that they're residual and they're going about their daily routine like they would normally would, but when they see something like us, when they notice we're there, they would think that we're a ghost or so we're something
they have a
in their life?
awareness. Yep, I think they do. I think I'll give you an example. A well-known, well, in my circle of people who have been to the Conjuring House. I was there, early on, of course, as you know. The parents acquired that house, and there's a long story as to how and why they actually moved in there. There's the fable, and then there's the truth, and never the two shall meet. But they acquired that house in 1971. They were there for 10 years. Farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island, that like 46 years later would become known as the Conjuring House. Carolyn Perrin, the lady of the house, she was very impressionable, gifted psychically, I'm sure, but she was sensitive, receptive. One time, Carolyn walked into what was then the kitchen. Now it's a parlor room in that house. And Carolyn saw two, and I believe she had this experience. Carolyn said she saw two men seated at the dining room table, but it wasn't her table. Different table. And there were two men in vintage clothing, old-fashioned clothing of more than a century before. And they had what seemed to be pewter tankards, old-fashioned drinking ware. These two men, farmers perhaps, they looked at Carolyn, astonished, surprised expressions. Carolyn was, of course, amazed by them. So I think for a brief interlude, a brief slippage in the time frame, Carolyn Perrin was the ghost to those two men observing her. And they were the ghost to her, and then they vanished. But they looked at her with startled, surprised. Who is this scantily clad woman here, the slender woman? And but they didn't say anything, but they were just amazed. And you had a time, and I had a similar experience in that house. It was an actual time slippage. And I'm not one to see an apparition or see mystical things too many times. Well, I have seen ghosts. I believe it's 9 times I have, but I've gone to the places where they were, and sometimes they just were there inexplicably, so I'm fortunate to see a ghost that many times, but I don't see them over my shoulder all the time either.
Do you think with that, because there've been talk about the Bermuda Triangle, the same
yeah,
and going through portals, and basically that's what it is. They're going through portals and they come out at a different time. And then they return back through another portal into our time. Could you think that there might be in that time period that a portal might be in there, and they're actually passing through that portal's passing through them, and that's where that time slippage comes in at, and then it automatically just goes back to what it's supposed to?
I do. Some people feel they're very common, like that house in Harrisville. I wish we could get away from calling it the Conjuring House, but because of the movies, the motion pictures, you can't. It's officially known as the Conjuring House. To me, it's Round Top Farm House.
That's what I know, is Round Top Farm.
Or the Richardson House, you could call it. And but the moniker they apply to it, of course, is the Conjuring House because it sells tickets. But it's thought of as being a portal in itself. Oh, I don't mean to undermine it. It is genuinely haunted. And it has portals there, where sometimes there's a slippage into another reality. This world is very plastic, more than most people think, because it seems so solid. But people have been known to walk into another time, and sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. Now, that opens up a big can of worms. It's totally illogical to think that somebody can break the time barrier, walk into another time or some other reality. but it is thought that these realities continue. There's one constant now, logically, but sometimes you can slip back a little bit. Time is fluid. Time is plastic. It gets into quantum theory.
Or better yet, they can actually, instead of going through another time, actually another dimension.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Who knows? A different world. I mean, maybe the spirit world, or where we all have replicas, spirit doubles, or maybe something really different that we can't understand. Where the laws of physics don't apply as we know them.
Right.
It's wonderful. That's why paranormal investigating and theorizing is so popular, because it's so open.
Right.
You can always guess at anything, but you want something to go on.
There's a lot of theories out there. I mean, there's so many theories. Actually, Irene's been a Kiko now, is saying that she lives in Japan, and of course, about the atomic bombs, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Yes. And she said that there's a lot of residual and a lot of intelligent haunts around all that stuff.
I think there would have to be.
And she said that there's places you can go to where there's still images of people that are actually marked against buildings and stuff when the bombs fall.
The actual physical images, yeah.
Right. So she said there's a lot of activity around those places. And of course you had the suicide forest also there.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's a lot and she said, you ought to come here, what she said right here, there's Nagasaki Atomic Bomb Museum has a lot of residual energy, and I get sick in the building.
She gets sick there because she's sensitive, because she can't filter that, can't block it out like other people would.
Yeah, and then she said right here,
to it.
You will see lots of spirits here because they will show themselves.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe they willfully show themselves. They want to be heard and seen, vindicated, recognized.
I mean, if you're walking down the street one day and all of a sudden a bomb goes off, 1 minute you're there, the next minute you don't exist any longer. That's kind of a sudden thing, that is a sudden death.
Yes.
And you would just go about doing it on your daily basis. Whatever you was doing, you just keep on going. It's like a loop, I guess, and you just keep repeating those things over and over again.
Well, the spirit is traumatized, and I'm not so much one for thinking that spirits return to settle scores or finish business, but when someone is, their lives are claimed that suddenly, instantly, right. How can a spirit with some kind of remnant psyche that we can't really comprehend, how is a psychic just going to reconcile, a spirit going to reconcile itself to that change of that quasi existence? They're going to go about their business and try something's different, and it's upsetting me, but I've got to go. I've got my job. I've got my family. I have to keep returning. And I think they loop, and their time keeps going back, and they are only vaguely aware that something has changed in some cases. And some people can speak to those spirits, I guess Irene can. I don't know if she can at will, or I think more that they speak to her, because that is a real magnet to a spirit that has a cognizance to it. Like if somebody sees them, usually they're invisible and unnoticed, unheralded, but they find someone, a living person who sees them, perceives them, then that they want to talk to that person. They want that person to see them again. I think that's why I've seen some. But I mean, over all these years, 9 times maybe isn't much to speak of. I'm surprised I haven't seen more, but unless I didn't know there were spirits and saw them. Yes.
To me, it's quite unique. I mean, she says she could speak to spirits also. So I mean, that to me it's quite interesting. I find, that's you don't see a lot of psychics that can actually do that, and I mean, to me that's quite unique, quite interesting to find out. I mean, that you can actually see. Me, I was told I'm an empath, and I said, yeah, okay, and I'm supposed to be able to feel things. I have deja vu dreams and stuff, which I chalk it up as just deja vu. I'm not saying I'm an empath or anything. My empathic abilities are, Carl, I'm gonna tell you how they are. I get hungry and I go to the refrigerator and get something to eat. That's my empathic ability.
I mean, so you right into that refrigerator, just the force pulls you there.
That force pulls me to the refrigerator.
It's almost like an out-of-body experience, because you get out of your bed, you go into the kitchen, and you're half aware that something's different, that you're hungry. And you may not remember getting that.
You know already. See, I didn't have to tell you anything. You already know.
Yeah, I perceive that about You got all that nice exotic cuisine down there. To me, it's exotic to draw you into the kitchen at night.
Oh, trust me, you're gonna wish. I'm tell you what. After I get through feeding you, you ain't gonna want to go back up north.
I get hungry whenever I'm a guest on your show. Yeah, because I was only down there briefly. Well, I was down there for hours of investigating and filming, but a lot of that was frenetic, moving around. I didn't have a chance to comb the city and go into the restaurants. I mean, I got some of the, cultural flavor down there, but as far as the eateries, not very much. But I want to make up for that when I go to see you.
Have you ever had a beignet? Have you had a beignet yet?
No, you've told me over the phone. I haven't. No, I haven't. I'm missing. I have had alligator, but that was
alligator on a stick.
No.
Okay.
This was actually minced alligator. It was chopped, and it was combined with pork, and it was quite tasty. I had a friend who's worked in a restaurant.
They make alligator sausage. They make all kinds of stuff. You can get alligator any way you want it. Frog legs and stuff like that. Turtle soup. They got. I tell you what, you eat that stuff and you sit down there, and if you don't think about it, I'm eating a turtle. You swear that's the best dish you ever had.
I don't mind legs. For some reason. Frog legs, now I've had them. I can get used to it. It's not my favorite thing, but I mean, I get into food. Turtles, I don't know. They don't bother me because I went to an Italian food restaurant on Federal Hill in Providence, which is known for its restaurants, Federal Hill, Atwell's Avenue, Broadway. And I had some delicious turtle bisque soup, and that is fine. And I would like to have that again. It has kind of like an exotic flavor, a little clammy, but a sweetness to it. And I would have turtle. I sure would. I'd eat out of the shell. I don't know. I suppose I could. But
I got a question for you. This is coming from Anthony.
I can tell you about Italian.
He's from West Texas.
Okay.
He wants to know, how do spirits speak English when they're from another country from hundreds of years ago?
Well, it's like Star Trek, the universal translator. They have to explain it somehow. I believe in the spirit more if they're not speaking English. Because I've heard spirits speak an Algonquin dialect that's no longer spoken, I'm sure, like a Native American, the indigenous people at the time. And I think these people probably died in the conflict that was called King Philip's War, and in the 1670s, 1674, 5. They don't always speak English. I don't hear them, but I've heard of French speak. Actually, I have heard a disembodied voice that was definitely not English at Slater Mill. It had kind of a French tone to it. It may have been French, but they don't always now. But there's a theory that our minds interpret it. It's kind of like explaining things away, but that our minds interpret it as our native language. We receive it. But I think if that happens, you're not going to really be hearing it like a language. You just, absorb it, experience it. So it's. But if you're talking about seance or somebody's channeling, they all tend to speak English or whatever the channeler is familiar with. They'll speak that language. It'd be more impressed if they came through speaking French, especially a French patois that was like of the 18th century, a little different, a little more formal.
Speaking Cajun French, because that's a whole different other language right there.
That is, you hear this kind of French, and you'll, a French speaking person, you might pick up some words, but they can lose you in that.
Well, quick, because I learned that. I was speaking Cajun French till I was 2 years old, and after I turned 2, my grandmother. Well, I started speaking it, and then I was 5 years old. I was getting ready to go to kindergarten. I was still speaking Cajun, and my grandmother told me, speak English, because that's what they taught in school, speaking English. And the way she broke me of it was actually putting Tabasco on my tongue. Every time I would speak Cajun, she would put Tabasco on my tongue, so you would have to speak English because you didn't want Tabasco put on your tongue. So that's what we did. Cayenne pepper, Tabasco, anything like that.
Yeah.
And that's
how your own kind of dialect. Yeah.
Your tongue all swelled up. Your lips are like, inflate the 35 pounds it says inside of it. And it was bad. And then of course you get the, I don't want Tabasco or cayenne pepper no more. So yeah, that you're gonna speak English. You know, you're
Yeah,
not
some
gonna
women
speak.
pay good sums to get their lips like that.
Mm-hmm.
You got it for free, albeit
You're absolutely
temporarily.
right. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
I'll tell you, I have a tool of divin. You've heard of divination, of course, like divining. Trying to use tools to breach the gap between our world and the spirit world. And one thing I've recently acquired, and I'm going to incorporate this into my own psychomantium. I'm building an environment that's spirit friendly. I just don't have funding for it, so it's stalled. But a psychomantium is supposed to be an enclosure incorporating mirrors primarily, where you can actually see the spirits and divine them. Dr.
I had
John
something
Dee,
like that. I heard about that. They're
yeah,
supposed to have one like that in Louisiana.
they do.
It's a house.
I mean,
It's supposed to,
yes.
they call it the Devil's something. I forgot what it's called. It's actually it's almost evil the way they got this thing set up, and
Hmm.
it's a room
Oh,
filled with
evil.
nothing but mirrors, and it's
Uh-huh.
supposed to be, I don't know if it's the Devil Workshop or it's the Devil something that's in
Yeah.
Louisiana. It's a myth, but some people actually have found this place before, and
Oh, it's not something newly constructed. This has been
no, this
around
has been
for a
around
while.
for a while, for a long
Ah,
while,
well, it's
and
thought that
it
spirits and emanations can be trapped in a mirror,
yeah.
possibly. They used to be made differently. But
And
I
I guess
have,
if they're torturing them, they torturing you. So that's why I guess they think it's evil. So I don't know. But it's supposed to be completely constructed of mirrors in the inside of
I
these
have an
things.
obsidian glass, an obsidian mirror. This is
Look
a
at you.
mirror,
Oh,
as you can
wow.
see, but it is a deep, deep blue, almost black.
That's beautiful though. It's a
And this
beautiful
is one,
mirror.
isn't it though? I was going to take it out of its frame and just use it. I mean, I could get an obsidian glass, but it looks so nice that when
It looks, yeah, it's I love it.
well,
It's
I did
beautiful.
purchase this in an antique store, so I don't know its history. Um, but I'm going to incorporate a black light, an ultraviolet light into this. Now I'm thinking if I can combine this, I might have to take it apart, but if I can project the ultraviolet light through the obsidian glass, so you get a little glow in there. That is going to establish a certain frequency, a certain vibration that could be conducive to seeing spirits. I've got to experiment with them in any way.
I know
Um,
someone who's done that, but they put a triangle. They
yeah,
shot a light through a triangle. It was a copper
right.
triangle, and they did that to create a portal. Actually,
Hmm.
that
I
when
love
you
ideas
shoot it,
like this. I love that kind of
you shoot it
experimentation.
right. You shoot it through that, through the triangle, through the mirror, and then you angle it so it angles back at the wall, and wherever the reflection of it comes onto the wall, because it's of course reflecting the light through the mirror onto the wall, and it actually opens up, supposed to open up a portal.
Well, if
I
nothing
mean,
else,
I
it
don't know.
provides us with a neat visual, which could
Right.
be conducive to spirit communication. But yeah, there could be some quantum. I won't even say scientific yet, but there could be some actual real principle behind that. And that's what I'm working on, developing something that's going to project light. It's light. Light is energy. Light transmutes. Light does things it shouldn't be able to do. And in fact, in the Hadron Particle Collider in Switzerland, there is they have actually broken the time barrier. Particles like the Higgs boson, it's a
Mhm.
boson particle, has transcended time. Also, it blinks in and out of existence, so it's being annihilated, which is impossible, and created, which is impossible, or recreated. And yeah, the impossible does happen in quantum mechanics, quantum physics, and you can speculate till the cows come home with the quantum theory. A guess could be right. Yeah, but I like that concept of a triangle and projecting a light onto the wall. That's what I'm trying to do with my own, what will be a self-constructed psychomantium. And there's even a little bit of danger
Could be,
potentially,
yeah.
which kind of invites me. It's like, hey, I'm doing something real if it's that. Now,
Yeah,
you
but I
might
don't want to be reading about you in the freaking paper either or online standing car.
that, I know.
He's over there playing with lights and mirrors now, and he got killed because he's playing with lights and
Well,
mirrors.
there was the Philadelphia experiment in 1942, so that is kind of onerous. I think it was 1942. You might think all this is new, like Jay Prather, a colleague of mine. He's doing some really good work with that. He's generating currents, not just electric current, but electromagnetic. And he's trying to establish frequencies that are going to let the spirits ride in on them, so to speak, it's waves and particle at the same time, which used to give Albert Einstein a headache. It's either particles or waves. Turns out it can be both. And spirits perhaps could use them as a magic carpet and ride in on them, whether they wilt or no, whether they really intended to. They might think this is all new because now we have the generating devices. But this was actually being experimented with in the early 17th century and late 16th century by Dr. John Dee and his associate Edward Kelly. And John Dee was the court astrologer to Queen Elizabeth I of England. He was on the payroll, and his code number, he was a secret agent, and his code number was 007. There's a reason for that. That's how that originated. 007. Yeah. Well, what it was that 007 was supposed to be the Queen's eyes always looking, and her, the staff was her holding up her monocles or the bifocals at the time. And John Dee was very, very popular because he was a prognosticator, predict the future, but he was experimenting. He was a serious experimenter. And of course, when Queen Elizabeth died, he fell out of favor and died in abject poverty, as many of those conjurers would do. Edward Kelly was his associate, younger man, was in prison for counterfeiting, and he tried to escape over the prison wall because he was set to be executed, and he fell to his death, neck was broken. So they came to bad ends, kind of. But you see what John Dee was doing and Edward Kelly, who he was mentoring, they weren't just like using, at first they used things like a crystal ball and a plate, a pan with water. But then they started making trapezohedrons, like geometric forms.
Right.
And, interlaced them with crystals to generate a charge. They were ahead of their time. They may not have grasped the mechanics.
Yeah, because crystals, they were captures in exchange. I mean, they actually produce energy.
Yeah, and they weren't like pulling in the demons and like, hey, we constrain and confine you to do our will. They were invoking angels, and it's like, it's neat stuff. Alchemy, of course, and like right. Maybe primitive by our standards. Alchemy is transmuting baser metals into gold and all kinds of experiments, derivations thereof. But yeah, it's as a fascinating. You see, I am talking about demonology in a way because
sure.
It was thought that conjurers call forth demons because they're easier to control. You can't let them go wild, but because they're baser, they're closer to Earth. They're not of the celestial realm anymore. So perhaps they could be forced to do a person's will. The magician, if he's competent, can conjure up the demons and get them to do things for him. Of course, you don't want to really try to constrain a demon for too long because once they get loose, once they get out of their collars, they wreak havoc.
I got another friend of mine. I'd love for you to just hear how he talks about this stuff. His name's Ken Allen, and Ken. I mean, as a paranormal investigator, we're supposed to have our minds open to everything, and
we should, basically.
And he looks at demons in a different light.
Interesting. Let's hear.
You give them wine and stuff like that, and ask them to do a favor for you. It's not that you're selling your soul or anything. You're giving them, you're bartering with demons, and that's how he looks at demons. He said, matter of fact, angels are more should be more evil than the demonic side is. That's the way he looks at it. If you look at the Bible, the way he explains it to me is the way I understood it anyway. You look at the Bible and then you have the wrath of God, fear thy and fear me. And it's always fear, God and stuff like that.
Yeah. That majestic King James language verbiage is a little more intimidating. Yeah.
And that's what he looks at. Whereas the demons, they're pretty much, you have some bad demons, just like every got bad people, but you have some demons that he thinks that you can actually work with and you can benefit from them as they benefit from you. So, I mean, it's a slippery slope that they're working with these things, but I mean, that's how they look at it. And I mean, that's the way he basically did. And I mean, I'm open to it and listen to it.
I know my only objection to that would be, I don't practice Santeria, but I really want to know my baby. Well, actually, I like the concept because it does sound like Santeria. You approach the spirit, you appease them, you entice them, and perhaps they'll work with you. They'll cooperate. They don't fear demons the same way. It's such an onerous term. It's got the demon, the D word, So of course people are not
right.
saying
That's
they
what
shouldn't.
Steve just said. I thought demons by nature were bad. Oh yeah, they are.
Well, if there are demons that aren't bad, we just never hear from them. They don't get any press. Yeah, they don't do anything with us or for us or to us. But yeah, well, demon, it's a very complex etymology about the word demon. It comes from a Greek origin, and it originally connoted a wise spirit, like a genie, that you had to be cautious of. But then their function was to report human delinquencies, But then that became known by then you get into this span of time called the Dark Age. And of course, the evil spirits have always been believed in. But then and then they're starting to be called demons, these wise ones, but they're not very Christian. So what are they? They must be something else. They're evil. They're spirits, And there have always been wicked spirits. My definition of demonology, I haven't said it in a while. Demonology is the systematized study of the lore and cultural traditions of wicked spirits. If I haven't said that in a while, it's hard to rattle off. Systematized study of the lore and cultural traditions of wicked spirits. That's what demonology is, really. Now, someone can be an applied demonologist where they actually go out and counsel persons or investigate, or one can be an academic demonologist who studies them and categorizes them. But that's something of a cathonicist. I'm also a cathonicist. I don't mind telling you that, Howard. I've known you long enough.
You're not just telling me, you're telling a lot of people out there right now.
No, not everybody's going to hear it. Hey, it's out of the bag now. I'm cathonicist, yeah. I can live with it. I'm not ashamed anymore. No. But no, actually, that's the British pronunciation. In America, you'd say thonicist, but that's somebody who studies the classical spirits from antiquity, and so actually, I'd like to call myself a cathonicist because a demonologist is a loaded term. A lot of people are, afraid of that term. But you get invited.
How many things have you actually been out there and seen actually? Okay, we talked about dolls earlier, but have actually seen something that's not a doll, or say a mirror or a wardrobe or something that's an object that's actually something that's evil, not per se demonic, but just something an evil attachment to. Have you ever ran across anything like that before?
Yes, evil because they were different, because they were not understood by me. Evil because they looked black, absence of light. So if you can't see them, therefore they're elusive. You don't know when they're going to show up. They're colorless. They're just a shape. Yeah, they seem evil because they're startling. They're scary. As far as something that's actually evil, yeah, I have. It's been an uncomfortable feeling. But I do think that's because they are different from us. They're a different mentality, these presences, and they may be resentful, but I don't think they were intrinsically evil. They want to be recognized or they want to be left alone, one or the other. But yeah, I've seen things that made me uncomfortable.
I mean, just because it makes you uncomfortable, I mean, doesn't mean it's
because
you don't understand it. We always call it evil, but I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be evil. It's just maybe something we just don't understand. Is that what you're trying to say?
Right. What I used to hear is like, don't mess with that stuff. Don't even go. Don't bother with it. Don't even think about it.
But my mama used to tell me that too, and that was just like the go ahead sign. Don't mess with this and don't eat that. And guess what? Howard was over there messing with it and eating it.
So that's how I became a demonologist. I mean, I could go around calling myself a cathonicist, but then I don't get invited to parties anymore. Who wants me on their show? Get the cathonicist on, yeah.
Hey, get him on here. He's not a demonologist. He's a cathonicist.
Thank you.
I got a question for you. This is coming from a YouTube side. This is Adventures with Beth. Beth, how would you define the different levels of demons?
Well, there are two answers to that. There's the way they present themselves. Are they obvious? Are they perhaps influencing or possessing living people? Are they close upon us? That's one level of demon. Another level would be something that we just talk about. It's in the spirit realm, but we're not likely to encounter. Some demons have lesser power, meaning they're not as close to us, but we tend to be aware of them. Now, I think what Beth is talking about is the hierarchy of demons, just like angels have
Angels have a hierarchy, and then the demons have the same
principalities,
thing.
thrones,
Yeah.
seraphim, cherubim. But the demons are supposed to have all different kinds of, which aren't as well. There are plenty of demonic names, but the categories aren't so specified. But there are supposedly, just like you'd find in an army, you find echelons, soldiers. Like Flutery is a field marshal. That's a demonic name. Sartanjanus is another field marshal. These are master demons. And then there are the minions, the lower ones. They're the ones we usually run into and trip over. But they're more mischievous. They're supposedly evil. They're certainly not creatures of God, if created by God originally. The minions are the ones that can make you sick. And, like, oh, I don't feel right coming into this place. But I'm talking about like lore, Lore, and the minions, the master demons, and then you have the foot soldiers, which are somewhere in between, and they're around. I'll give you an analogy, a story about demons, an analogous situation with demons. See, there are three demons, right? They don't walk into a bar, but there are three demons, and they're discussing strategy. How are they going to win some souls or steal some souls that day? And they find a person who's maybe a little weak in his faith. He's going through some tribulation. And they say, how are we going to, and there's a younger demon, says, tell him, I got an idea. Tell him not to believe. Don't believe in the Holy Spirit. Don't believe in the Trinity. Just don't believe it. It's all nonsense. And another demon who's a little more experienced says, no, tell him to believe, but tell him not to get baptized. Don't need that. Don't need the sacrament of baptism. And then there's this master demon. He's a 1,000,000+ years old. He's been around. He's seen it all. So the master demon says to the two younger, less experienced demons, he goes, oh, he said, tell him to repent and believe. Tell him to get baptized, but tell him to do it tomorrow. And that's the wisdom of the more experienced demon. Tell him to do it tomorrow, because chances are he's not going to. I've got time to repent. I've got time to believe and, get my doctrine right, but do it tomorrow. Wait it out. I like that story. I mean, it's not.
I like it.
I mean, I don't know the literal story, but
And then they have another question for you. Do you think there are more demons around than we think?
I do, because I think they're still being born. I don't think they're a finite number.
Is that who you was talking about earlier, Carl?
Yeah. Well, demons, we tend to think of a demon. Of course, what's a perfect setting for a demon, for an imperfect being? Living in a subterranean cavern, like the depths of the ocean, and cavernous, or a flaming pit. That's where sulfurous pits. That's where a demon would reside, right? Someplace very bleak and obscure. But if there are demons in a real sense, I think that perhaps all the demons could fit in the pin of a head, the head of a pin, rather, a pinhead. Yeah, all the demons could fit on the head of a pin, because they're not physical in the sense that we thought. Oh, they're in a very vague sense they're physical. Well, sure. I don't think that there's any reason to limit the number of demons. There might be a finite number, but they might be being created, because part of what gives them substance is the human psyche. We generate the fluid that makes demons through not just our iniquities, but our confusion, our distress, our sorrow, all the negative human emotions and the conflict. It's not easy being human most of the time. And I think that can generate a demonic influence, if not an outright demon. So again, and the mind is quantum in a very vague sense. Perhaps these demons are being born. Perhaps they're being replenished. Perhaps they have a timeline. Perhaps they wither after a time. Now, the standard definition of a demon in Occidental and Western culture is that they are immortal. They were created along with the angels in the Great Tribulation, the Great Conflagration in heaven. They were cast down, the Great Revolt. And some of those angels that were the fallen angels, they followed the lead of Satan, the Great Rebellion. Satan was prideful. He was Lucifer, the bright angel, but he had pride. He thought he should be on equal footing with God. So he led a revolt, and 1/3 of the heavenly host, how many that would be, we don't know. 1/3 of the heavenly host were cast down to the nether regions, and they followed their leader, Satan. And that's why we have the demons now, and their master, Satan. Satan means adversary or opposite, etymologically. I tend to think that these things basically issue forth from the human mind. It's like the conundrum of if a tree falls in a forest and there's nobody there to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, of course, the answer is yes and no. It still vibrates air molecules, but there may not be an ear to interpret that sound, that vibration. But if there weren't people, would there be demons? I think if the human race, you ever see that series that used to be on After People? Like how long ago would it take the structures that are man-made to fall apart? I think if the human race were to go extinct, I think the demons would have to wither out. I don't think they could exist without, the human
Well, you
race.
could do like I do, because I had that same rush of people during the COVID. Everybody was on lockdown, and I had more people calling me up saying, "There's the devil in my house. There's a devil. There's a devil.
Yeah.
Here. It's evil here." And my best thing, I'll ask them like 2 questions, and if they didn't pass one, they had to pass both those. It was real simple questions to answer to find out there's something really going on in there. And if they got one right and one wrong, no, that was it. I mean, this was too clear to say. It would tell me there was something going on there. Now, then I would go through more serious questions with them. But if they failed just one of those questions, I would tell them just like this, Carl. There's a devil in your house. There's evil in your house. Yes, there is. Now, what you need to do is go to your wallet, pull out your credit card, and give it to your wife, and let her go. And the evil will leave. And then that would be the end of it. No more demons in the house.
There's a term for your viewpoint and your sense. It's called sardonic. You are
smart
sardonic. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
I mean, that's true though. I mean, people have just gotten so bored and they got so emotionally stressed out from being locked up for so long, and they started seeing things in here. They were noticing more things.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Exactly. People would ask me that. Do you find the demonic influences on the rise since the quarantines and COVID? Yeah, certainly, because people had more time.
But then again, you're all locked up in your home where you wasn't before, and maybe they're noticing things that they haven't noticed before. So there's a bunch of ways you have to look at these things, as in that aspect. Is this the friend you was talking about earlier?
Oh, yes, that is. And I'll tell you how to pronounce her name. Well, Sardi, but Ajung Sardi.
Ajung Sardi.
That's as close as I can say it. Ajung Sardi.
Okay.
Hi from Indonesia. Hi, Ajung. She must be listening and watching if she said that.
Yes, she did. She said you were singing. I can go back and pull that up. Let's see.
She's got me singing. She didn't record me.
Carl is singing.
Oh, Carl is singing. Well, I was a little while ago. I was saying Santeria,
Yeah, you was.
But I really want to know my baby. Yeah. I sing before lectures sometimes, or even during lectures,
And Steve's got one more question he asked on here. He's asked, how would a normal person run into a demon? I think I just answered that.
Probably at a high speed,
just go ahead and if you're married, you already have a demon. It could be a husband or wife. I don't discriminate.
No, you hit them all, don't you, Howard?
Oh yeah, all of them. I don't point out one specific group in that matter. It's all over. It's your spouse
depends on the normal. I mean, if the person has some angst, something's bottled up in their psyche and their murky recesses of their subconscious, that person could run into one, and like it could, the person doesn't know he or she is being oppressed by a demonic influence, and because they don't name it as such, and things start going wrong inwardly, and they can't define why. And this was where the psychology is transcended and goes into parapsychology and metaphysics. And the demon gains power once it is personified. Once somebody believes that it's a demon, and I'm not saying it's all imaginal, but once somebody puts 2 and 2 and 4 together, and they start saying, wait a minute, I've been seeing dark shapes in my house. I thought it was a problem with my eyes. And my dog keeps growling at the closet. And some days I just feel like something cold is passing through my soul. And I think I have a demon in my house. Then the person was vulnerable right then. Then with every successive,
I call that married life. But
well, I could misfortunes, but it can be. It's a blessing and a curse, is it not? Like if I back into a fire hydrant, I'm going to say, I have to tell everybody I did that. Oh God, my car isn't old. But if somebody's thrown a curse on me, some conjurer, or let's say something more applicable, I've been to an investigation in an abandoned asylum, like Allegheny Mental Hospital, and I've been there, and I didn't feel right while I was there, and I wonder if I brought home an attachment for something. I just feel creepy since I was in that place. I back into the fire hydrant. Something's after me. Something's telling me. Now, I never backed into a fire hydrant before, and then I trip. Just, oh, jeepers. Oh. And then my family starts quarreling with me. Where did this come from? You add all this up, and it becomes like a vortex, and it oscillates. And then through association, the demon is suddenly real. That's one way somebody can run into a demon. And it becomes, at a certain point, it becomes impossible to tell what is a genuine paranormal influence, something otherworldly, and what's of the mind. Because it blurs. You're dealing with the mind. What is it Sigmund Freud said? Sigmund Freud said, the pioneer psychotherapist, he said, unexpressed emotions don't die. They become buried alive, and they surface later in uglier ways. You see what he was getting at? You don't express your emotions. You keep conflict. And I've never run into a demonic situation where somebody was actually pestered or tormented by a demon where there wasn't some seriously unresolved conflict. There was something bottled up in the person. There was unexpressed anger, fear, hostility, and it takes another form. Once it's personified, that's a lethal force. And you have to try to untangle that knot and tell the person, yeah, it's real, but it's an illusion at the same time. Don't give it too much of a personality. And can't somebody, if they're faithful, can't they believe that the Holy Spirit is stronger? Holy Spirit is not something that is seen, but it should be stronger. But the demons always get more press. I think
that's true.
In theory, because they're more persistent. They stay at it longer. They stay up nights working on you. Oh, this is Miss Jean Sardi. Do you want me to read it, or Howard?
I got you. What do you think about the Holy Spirit and is present when we are praying, or the revelation that is conveyed, and then there's a match from their message?
Yeah. Well, I believe what she's saying is that, there's a purpose to all this, that the Holy Spirit is there for us. It's not going to be a total problem solver. The Holy Spirit is part of God. And it's like an electric generator. That's always running, but you need to tap into it, through belief in it, primarily through belief in the Holy Spirit, and opening yourself up to the Holy Spirit's guidance. and then it comes through. But don't expect an easy ride, because you'll stumble and fall along the way. Roadblocks are set up in front of us. But if you know that voice is always there, whispering to us, saying, "Come to me, listen to me, open to me." But I don't know. People don't seem that interested in divine intervention, because it's not an absolute problem solver. It was never designed to be. Now, I tend to play devil's advocate. I tell them from two sides. I also like to think of myself as a rationalist, a rational person, But I think that what Zhang is saying is that there's been a long tradition of the Holy Spirit coming through to people when they're in need. And then that's borne out in the Bible time after time. And it's just when we're ready to give up and throw in the towel, that's when the Holy Spirit will present itself. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't possess us. It doesn't make us do things. But you can feel it. You can feel that certain peace and a sense of strength off in the distance.
Sometimes they test you. They want to test you and to see how your faith is. And that's a good way of testing your faith, is putting you through some trials and tribulations.
Isn't the evil one a tester?
But I think something evil. I think evil ones would actually give it to you. Okay, yeah, right. You can have it. Here you go, and they'll just give it to you, but they're out for their own evil agendas. Whereas, on the side of the light of God, they're going to test your faith. They're going to test and see how well you could take that, and of course, they reward you at the end. If you pass that, that's what I believe anyway. Like Irene, she says, I asked Buddha to protect me. That's what she's saying here. I mean, I'm not going to sit down and just go through all the religions of things like nature, because my daughter, she went through her different cycles of religions, that she was searching for the religion that fitted her. She was born Catholic. She was baptized and blessed Catholic, but she just felt like the Catholic religion wasn't for her. And she went through Buddhism. She went through Satanism. She had a black Bible. She went through everything. Muslim. She was a Muslim at one point. She looked into being a Muslim, but she finally
some benefit to all these beliefs, these systems.
And then finally she found a religion that worked for her, and that was a Wiccan. She was comfortable being a Wiccan, and she believed in that. And I said, well, that's I'm not going to pressure her on any religion. That's for each individual soul to actually, even though she's my daughter, she has her own soul, and she's going to decide whether. I can't make the decision for her. I can tell her she's Catholic. I can tell her I can force a religion down her throat, but that's not necessarily what she's going to feel. Okay, her soul is going to tell you her different. So she had to search that for herself, and she found that, and when she was at ease, and when she did pass away, she was a Wiccan, but she was buried as a Catholic. Now there was things put in her coffin that was for her because of her beliefs. She had tattoos on her that was Wiccan tattoos and things of that nature, and that was her. Okay, and that was her belief. And I'm not going to sit back and and talk about about Buddha. And Irene says I asked Buddha to protect me, but she's also a Catholic. I guess it is what it is. You practice your own religion and seek your own counsel, I guess you could say, or whatever. How you going to work that?
Yeah, and Buddha was thought to have really been predicated on a living person. Buddha was alive as a person, but Buddha transcended his humanity, and he became the Buddha, became a spiritual entity, but he learned on earth, and he is a source of wisdom, and it can become objectified, actually, that the Buddha is a concept more than a personality. But as human beings, we want rungs on the ladder to understand things, and we need our nomenclature. And
I got a Buddha belly.
So we get good luck if we rub it.
Yeah. I don't know, because I've been having a little streak. Jackie can rub my belly.
Nah.
No, see that? I don't know if it's going to work or not, Carl. I just don't know.
Look, I've got another thing. Talk about, we were talking about definition or divination. That I mean to say, what are these things? What is this?
Dowsing rods.
Dowsing rods or divining rods. Yes. Now, in theory, The spirit moves these through impulses in our hands. Like, let's see if I can get these to work. I've had fun with these. It's also like ideomotor, our hands just like doing it. Well, they're kind of mysterious. Let's see. Divining or dowsing rods. These are copper and steel. All right. Can you show me? Where's Jackie? Show me Jackie, please. Look at that. And they touch in the middle as they point to you.
There's a point to Jackie. Look at that.
Wow.
I can't manipulate these by, I could maybe. There is a way if somebody wanted to stage these, you hold them at an angle, they're going to move,
Right.
Hold them down, they're going to move, but you hold them straight, they shouldn't be moving like that. They work, and yet it's an untrue truth. They work, and I don't know how. I actually don't for a minute think spirits are pushing through these. But, maybe we create, look at that. Oh, I said something I shouldn't have said. Look at that. When I've used these, like at the ghost hunts at Slater Mill, old Slater Mill site, they would do this. And I think that meant that non sequitur, don't understand, or there are two answers to something.
We'll bring them to the city. Bring them to the city. When you come in the walls, we'll bring them in the city. We'll go to, and we'll bring them out there and we'll watch them get tied in a knot.
This is why I don't put sharp ends on them.
There you go.
Yeah, but they're always fun because they give you a visual. We're not waiting for a knock on the wall, which I've gotten plenty of those. They give you something. Our dowsing rods serve us. I have a strange picture taken in a cemetery. I don't know how clear you can see it.
There's Liz.
Sometimes you see things in cemeteries you didn't expect. I don't know how clear this will be. I got to get it out of the glare. Let me hold it up to the webcam.
Oh.
Can you see that?
Who's that peeking around the corner there? Who's that?
Well, you tell me.
I can barely make it out.
What do you see?
I'm about to go big on you. I'm about to go big on you. Let's see.
Yep. Can you zoom in on that?
Is that Miss Elise?
No, that's
that's Shannon, huh?
Actually, it looks a lot like Shannon.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
Is that her?
No, that's a mystery. That's a mystery.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not saying it's a ghost, but it's a mystery person. Somebody that liked cemeteries. Yeah.
He's peeking around the tombstone.
Yeah. How about that? And I'll tell you, it wasn't Halloween.
That is a ghost. That is one freaking clear apparition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was not Halloween. It was winter.
Is that her hand holding up like that?
Whereabouts? I think so.
It looks like her hand, and she's wearing a white shirt with a black robe.
That would be her hand in front of her.
Is her hand holding out?
Come to me.
It's like calling you. Yeah, come to me or something like that.
Yes, it does. It does look like her hand is outstretched. She looks like she's in kind of distress or yearning.
Black circles around the eyes like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just one of my favorite pictures. I don't know what her story is, but I like that picture. No, that's not Shannon.
It almost looked like her though. When we was looking at it, did look like her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my! What other questions do you have? Because I could keep talking. This is.
I know you do. Anybody has any more questions? I got Liz is in the house. Liz is from Scotland
too.
She's from Scotland.
Hi, Liz.
There you go. You got Scotland in there.
Hi, Colin. Oh,
so you got quite a few people.
Scotland. I haven't talked to in so long. I feel convicted. I feel I miss them.
I had Barry Fitzgerald. He said he would came, but they still only need lockdown for COVID. They won't let them fly to the United States. Yeah.
The British Isles. Yeah, isn't that something? They've still got that residue. We take it seriously here, but not as we did, of course. And 2 years ago, it was the big thing. What do you think about? And our audience may respond to this. Howard, what do you think of spirit boards? Most popular, well-known one is the Ouija board.
I just got one. I want to play with it.
Now.
I want to play with it, and Jackie won't let me play with it.
Oh my! Aren't you daring?
This house.
Yeah. What kind of
Yeah, you
club
just
do you
have
go to, man?
Man, I'm willing to experiment. I'm looking to play with it and see what happens. I mean, of course, you got to know how to close it and make sure you just can't just people use the Ouija
No, don't,
board
you
and they
know,
don't know
even
how to.
I, who am somewhat of a pragmatist, and actually that's what I call my partner, Elise. I call her a pragmatist. Because it's better than saying skeptic. Elise knows there's such thing as psychic force, and things do move around, propelled by unseen forces and things. She knows there are spirits, whatever, however we define them. See, we don't have a lot of scientific sounding terms. We got ghost and spirit and demon and robber sprites and all that. But I like to think of myself as somewhat of a rationalist. However,
There you go.
what do I have here?
Jackie's gonna get. Look, she's getting up. She's gonna go get my spirit. What are you doing, woman? You get my spirit board. I can see
Want to
it
try
now.
to drive her away.
No. She's gonna get my spirit board, and she's gonna. No, go ahead and show it. You show it. She's bringing me to my spirit board. She's coming from me. She doesn't want to sit next to me. There you go. Look at that. That's a cool looking board.
Oh, yours is not a normal one, but it's a Ouija. I mean, it's not like a standard Parker Brothers,
No, this is the real. This is the real deal.
Oracle. That's
real deal.
Wow. Oh, I like it.
Pull it out. I got the little. I got this one here, but I got this one. I have another one though. Let's see, where is it at? Where did I put that thing at? Oh goodness, I don't even. Oh, there it is. I got this one that was actually made for me.
Ooh, you got a handmade.
Yep, and it's called.
Okay.
What is it called?
ED.
EDI stone.
Okay. Heard of it.
EAD stone. I'm sorry, it's an EAD stone. EAD stone, and I'll tell you that this is a PG-13 show, so I won't say what that means. But actually, this is made, and it was given to me in Kansas, and I was having some back issues because my leg and hip was hurting me, and they said that this stone would remove that pain, and I put it in my back pocket where the pain was, and sure enough, about 5 minutes later, the pain was gone.
Mm-hmm. But it's got to be some principle to that. I don't think that was just.
Oh,
let me tell you a little bit about this. Yeah. This was gifted to me. It was made for me by my friends Danny and Lauren Perez. And they gave this to me, and apparently they said, "We've got something for you. Been waiting to see you." Now, there's a reason for it. This is actual coffin wood. They go all out. That's coffin wood. And of course, it's the old shape of the coffin, the trapezoidal, And yeah, it's got the standard letters and numbers. That's a classy Ouija board. It's got the Ouija on it, the sun and the moon. Yeah.
That's good.
By the way, that's a configure. That's a conjuring. That's a Solomonic, as in King Solomon, geometric pattern there. That's used for constraining spirits, invoking spirits that design in back of his head, and that the person in this picture in the Ouija board is H.P. Lovecraft, the horror fantasy writer, and many people believe he was in touch with some very real sources. And yeah, so I am related to H.P. Lovecraft. So he was my second cousin.
Stephen King. The Stephen King. I like Stephen King.
Lovecraft never told. Yeah.
I love his books. I mean, I don't know about the man, but I love his books.
Now that I look at it, that's the Seal of Solomon, not Seal of Solomon.
That is a cool Ouija board. That is a cool.
That connotes Lucifer. That configuration there, and it's got tentacles wrapped around.
I love it. I mean, it's shaped like a coffin. It's made out of coffin wood. I mean, you can't get more fancy than that. I mean, really. I mean, that's just calling for something. Just that alone, you ain't got to make it a Ouija board. That alone would be calling out to somebody or something.
One would think so, yeah. I just use it for display. I haven't played on it yet. Seeing if I have any other cool pictures. I've always got something here. Oh, look at this here. There we go. These are my work clothes.
I love it. Oh, you got some cool stuff, man. You be going on that. I've seen some of the pictures. Carl will go to the Renaissance Festival and it looks like he belongs there.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's another organization in which I hold membership. I'll be there as the Order of Silohar, and based in Oxford, Connecticut. I will be there this Saturday.
I'm still here.
Yeah, they took you away for a little while then.
I'm still here.
Yeah, don't leave us yet. I did. Cool pictures here I've gotten, things like that. Yeah. Oh, that's another picture. I shouldn't show that one. It'll be controversial. Yeah. We'll go back to Panorama Paranormal.
As long as you ain't naked, that's for me to do that.
You
I'm the
know,
only one that can do that.
it was 20 something years ago. I mean, well, as long as you want to see it, like, oh, what is
Go
it?
for
60 degrees. I'll take my shirt off. Things change a little bit though with time. But our team of two is Panorama Paranormal because of full spectrum. We're not limited to ghost hunting, dimensional rifts, missing persons, anomalous deaths. Yeah, we research, and Elise is a very astute researcher, very valuable for that. So we are panoramic in our interest. Yeah, put it over here. I like to bring in some show and tell now and again. I brought my wand last time.
I love it. I love it. Be interesting.
What happened? He looks like he's coming through a radio broadcast now. Howard does.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to come back
on. RKO broadcast. Yeah. I like that. That's a cool picture. It's like vibrating now. Yeah.
There you go.
Hello, welcome back. So now
Irene had it right. Howard is naked now. No, Howard wasn't naked.
You came up with that. Well, it sounds like you maybe were. You were the bathtub talk show host, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I was on that full video. I mean, I didn't care. I mean, no, when I had to stop and take care of one of my dogs, one of our fur babies yeah, fur babies. I'm looking down. I had to take care of one of those. And we had, that's a must. We have to take care of our baby. Yeah, and Fat Dog was jumping on me, so I had to put her through a way. And then, of course, Pug was sitting down there wanting to climb up. So yeah, that's enough right there. That's 3 dogs that's just sitting around me wanting all of my attention, and I have to tell them to go lay down. And yeah,
maybe it has something to do with that Ouija board.
Probably.
Yeah. Well, it's another form of experimentation. It gives us a visual. It's a grounding. It helps our imaginations along. We're talking about getting more technical, like Jay Prather's work. Enabling spirits to ride in on waves. Create an atmosphere that's conducive to spirit communication. And he's on to something. His things work. You should have seen what he did at the Conjuring House. The house in Harrisville, Round Top Farm. It was Halloween night, and Jay he was generating electric charge, and people had their recording equipment out, and I was present, and Elise was there, and he asked, who asked? I don't know if it was Jay or somebody asked, what do you have to say to us? What message do you have? What do you want to say to us? Speaking to the air or whatever spirits were there. You know what we recorded and played it back right away? Trick or treat.
Oh, wow.
What is that? Did the spirit kind of get clued in, wanted to be funny, wanted to say what he thought we wanted to hear? Or was it intelligent? Or did we create that and it was responsive? I don't know. But talking about calling in spirits, these nebulous forms, and we're trying to do it. We're trying to approach it scientifically, and that's where parapsychology comes in. Parapsychology is all about experimentation. It's not to be really confused with the paranormal. Parapsychologists will study paranormal phenomena, but you wouldn't say the parapsychology like you say the paranormal. But suppose
we've done a lot of experience like that. I mean, that's what the whole thing is about. When you doing it, as a paranormal investigator, you have an active house or an active a residential or business or whatever. Something's active, but to experiment with it and to get more documentation, as much documentation as you could possibly get. That's what this is all about. That way we could share it on to other people, and like, for instance, our audience that's out there now watching us. But that's how we get we want to share our information, and then someone else can learn it and they can take it to the next level. Or they might have something. This is like what Carl was saying earlier with his mirror. That's something, we always experiment. We always passing things off on one another. And that's how we learn. That's how we learn. You could be doing this for 900, you could do this for 100 years and you still won't know it all. The only way you're going to know it all is actually when you die. And that's it. And
hopefully,
hopefully, yeah.
You'll be able to tell somebody about it. Yeah. Nikola Tesla is a Serbian physicist, great experimenter, contemporary of Thomas Alva Edison, and they're antagonistic against each other. Edison, while certainly a genius inventor, he was also he would not want to admit if he was wrong or going down the wrong trail. He was very competitive. He believed in his own fame and acclaim, and he was against Tesla, who was backed by Westinghouse for a time. Tesla lacked funding for a time. He probably would have made more advances, but Nikola Tesla, you could say an offbeat genius, but certainly a genius. And he's being more lauded and more recognized as the genius he was. But Tesla said, if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of vibration and frequency. And he was certainly onto something. Tesla was a strange personality, though. I mean, not just because he was a mega genius doesn't mean that everything he said you should give adherence to. But he was certainly onto some things. Now, Nikola Tesla, one of his dreams, one of his ambitions was to have towers set up in different corners of the globe, different regions, but spaced equilaterally. And these towers would generate electric power on a certain level, not just pure electricity, but electromagnetism they would generate. And the towers would provide a free source of energy for the human race.
Yeah, but you see, that's the thing. And if you look at it through a paranormal way of looking at this, that's how spirits feed, is through electrical.
The world would probably be more haunted than it is.
I think so. That you actually see them walking around, just like you see on Ghostbusters. You see them walking around and walking and talking to us. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's kind of crazy. I mean, just down here in Louisiana, you have thunderstorms. You have lightning storms.
That was an aspiration of Nikola Tesla. However, he didn't get the funding for it. You know why? Because that would put the big companies, the burgeoning electric companies, it would put them out of business. That was not going, like electric power is like starting to, like power cars. And by the 2000,
like the steam powered car, they had they made a steam powered engine, and the big Ford and all them didn't want that because that would put especially the petroleum companies. The petroleum companies would lose.
Yeah, they weren't ready for that. It's like when the slaves were gradually freed. Don't do it all at once. Don't try to do it overnight. We need them for a while longer. But if Nikola Tesla had succeeded, if we were like an altruistic society and, those towers had been put up for the benefit of all humankind, I think there'd be a manifold instances of leukemia because the atmosphere would be poisoned. It would be a necrotic atmosphere.
A lot of cancer.
It would be starting a lot of cancers, blood cancers, blood diseases, a lot of, disruption of the skin of the epidermis. I think it would shorten lifespans. It might create some good mutations, but most mutations aren't successful. So,
I'd be an X-Man.
Yeah, oh, it could be. Just one like that. The atomic age, like create the Hulk and all that. Yeah, but usually it doesn't do that. Mutations can, if the organism can adapt to its environment, then it's a good mutation. Normally, they're not very good ones. They just weaken the strain. But that's how we got to be us because of mutations. It's strata. It's the one that can change. It's the organism that can change and adapt. Now, the Neanderthal people, oh boy, are we rabbit trailing. Neanderthals, they were highly specialized. They were smart people. They were very adaptive. They did things we can't do. I'm too wimpy. I couldn't be a Neanderthal, but not a good one. But
I don't know. But then, of course, you had us, humans came along, and they basically made the Neanderthals extinct.
They didn't help the situation, did they? Our Cro-Magnon antecedents, our progenitors, I should say. The Neanderthals were too specialized. They were good in their time. They were pretty good for about 300,000 years. And then, climate change, environment changes. These taller, more adaptive people come along, smarter in some ways. They reason differently. And then that didn't help the Neanderthals.
We stood upright.
That was an advantage. One thing that didn't help the Neanderthal cause was they were bred out of existence. I tend to think they were just too specialized. And once you even the birth and death rate, and then the death rate accelerates and dominates the birth rate, it's only a matter of time. And that's what happened with the Neanderthals, because they were always a small number. Right. They would probably be a lot better today. They had these small thumbs too. That didn't help them. They'd have trouble opening doorknobs. But it is said that all Europeans, with good reason, it said that all Europeans have between 2 and 4.5% Neanderthal genome in them.
Yeah, but if you look at Europeans also, they have short thumbs too.
Yeah, they kind of do, yeah.
I'm shaking hands with quite a few of them. They always got little thumbs for
they don't do that thumb sole shape.
Yeah, they don't do that, no. They can't reach them. I don't think they can make it up to that
far. No, I definitely have a little Neanderthal in me. Keep squirming around and trying to get him out. But I do have I know I do, because of the logistics of it. I think like a Neanderthal sometimes. That name, they didn't call themselves Neanderthals. That's in the Neander Valley. But I know I've got those people's genetics in me. I kind of look like one in a way.
Hey, what, Carl, I feel like that when I get like that, Carl, when I think I'm having something, what you're going through right now, thinking that I have maybe a little Neanderthal in me, there ain't nothing that a little kaopectate can't handle. Get rid of that right quick.
Neanderthal out of you, man.
It'll get right on.
Yeah. It's not bedroom talk either. Hey, I have a little Neanderthal. How about you? That's it. When I'm shaving in the morning, and now that I'm somewhat more mature and older, I feel very troglodytic in the mornings, and I don't want to get out of bed. And it just my ankles hurt me. I stagger when I get out out of and I'm very troglodytic.
That's all it is. It's just a little bit. Too much salt.
I don't have too much of a preponderance of salt in my diet, but enough that it does affect me. It doesn't filter out fast as it used to, and all that. Yeah.
But you need to get you some fluid.
A lot of mistakes so far, haven't we? Yeah. Oh.
Get you some Lasix. That'll take care of that.
Yeah.
I got some. I take them every day.
Kaopectate?
Yeah, that's right. I don't have to worry about that too much. You can ask the wife about that.
It's our secrets. Yeah. Oh my.
There are no secrets for me. I've held shows on the toilet too. I'm telling you, Carl. Yeah. There's no place I haven't.
You're talking about being adaptive. Your species should go on. Wow. That's a real talent to do that. I mean, I'd get shy myself. But being older.
I don't care. That's my problem. I just don't care anymore. I got into that age, Carl. Maybe it's a stage in my life. I don't know. I'm at that stage where I just don't care. I mean,
I think that's a good thing. You lose your filtration. You just want to say what's on your mind. You don't care. Don't get bothered as much.
I think I'm going into really Alzheimer's or something. I think I'm falling into that. I'm at that point now. I'm at that point now.
Youth is wasted on the young. Yeah. That's pretty strange when I was young. As a paranormal, and I'm talking about my teens, later teens. I was naive as you could be, but I thought I was a pretty interesting character. When I was 17, and I was just about my best looking, I think. You probably have a picture of me when I was 17 in your file someplace. I sent you
somewhere, yeah.
Yeah. And I was a Satanist then. I was a practicing Satanist. Never got perfect at it, but I practiced it a lot. But that was a form of expression and rebellion. It wasn't setting out to do evil. It's just the name. You can't get away from the implications of Satanist. Oh, you sacrifice animals, you throw curses. No, I didn't do any of that stuff. But I was a Satanist. It was a philosophy for a time, and then I called it Luciferian after a while. And I'm in the process of developing. Besides writing another book, I'm in the process of developing a belief system. Maybe belief is an acceptance, let's say a system of acceptance. And I'll get into that in my next, if I come back to your show, which I would like to do.
Oh, always. You're always welcome here.
Yeah, it will be called Carcosan. And it'll take about 15 minutes to explain it, but it's Carcosan. It combines different strategies and different acceptance systems. Bruce Lee, famous martial artist, he may not have been the best martial artist in the world, but he was closer to the best and the worst. And he was very charismatic, very deep in his thinking and philosophy, Bruce Lee. And he just had a wonderful charisma that we still, like the magician Harry Houdini. Now, he didn't make buildings disappear and elephants disappear, but when you say magician, you usually think of Harry Houdini. You think Houdini, the great Houdini.
And he was supposed to come back after death.
Yeah. Did he? We don't know. Jury's not on that. Well, his widow, Bess Houdini, they would have a seance for him every Halloween, and he died on Halloween night. And there is a famous recording of of Bess Houdini saying, "Harry, once more we tried to reach you, and you have remained silent. So we put out the light forever and say goodbye to you." Supposedly, although it's not recorded, there was a terrific thunderclap at that moment. So I don't know. And when you say martial artist, who's the best martial artist, you think of Bruce Lee, because there was something about Bruce Lee, something about him, almost indefinable. And he combined, the reason I'm getting into this is Bruce Lee combined different martial artistry. And he synthesized the system. It was his own, and he incorporated what worked for him. Discard what doesn't work. Incorporate what does. A quote from Bruce Lee: he said, "You show me a karate expert, I'll show you a dead man," because he felt karate system was too structured. But he combined this into Jeet Kune Do, or Jeet Kune Do. You can say it either way. Karate means open hand. Which means without weapons, although they do incorporate weaponry. But karate means the open hand, the empty hand. Jeet Kune Do meant, basically translated, it mean the way of the intercepting fist. Intercepting. Bruce Lee's principle was suddenly don't be there when your opponent is attacking and striking. Don't be there. Be somewhere else. Don't think of transcending space. Don't think of jumping out of the way. Just suddenly be somewhere else. Be that half a foot away. And I think Bruce Lee was so successful because he was so darn fast, and he was intense. He never stopped studying. He was always into his craft, and he had his own personal demons. That's what makes Bruce Lee immortal in a sense, although he died when he was 32. That way, what makes somebody like Bruce Lee so interesting is his respective disciplines. He was intense. He had his own path to follow, and he did it like no one else. I think Bruce Lee's one of his best gifts physically was, and I'm not really a martial artist, but I have this in common with Bruce Lee, being very fast. Because when I move or when I'm doing a tournament, because we have you might call it sword play, tournaments of arms in this group I belong to in Connecticut. Just try not to be there. Suddenly, you're not there anymore. You don't think of the distance, And even though I'm 40 to 45 years older than a lot of these combatants, I can prevail because one thing, I don't get to train a lot, so I'm very sneaky. Do what's not expected. You faint, but like just suddenly be out of the way. You're not there. Yeah, you can, go like that, or you can just be there. So all of a sudden you're there. You don't think of the distance. And that's
I'm trying to find that picture of you when you was younger. I can't find it. I'm not.
Oh, that's nice looking. Yeah.
I have it somewhere on my phone. I do. That's what I was looking for. I was going to put it up.
That one. Yeah. That one where I'm in the pre-Renaissance garb, the garb, the outfit, the Renaissance.
Well, I got a bunch of that. This is when you was younger years. I'm talking about when you was in your teens.
How much did I send you? Runger?
You sent me quite a bit of pictures. I got you or like in my
picture in uniform. That was taken 3 months ago. 2.5 months ago. 2.5 months ago, if even that. Yeah, but I probably did send you pictures of me when I was young and cute. I was.
I haven't.
I know because people tell me I was. I can say it now.
I got a lot of pictures.
I'm in the tournament. And this actually applies to metaphysics and even demonology in a loose sense. Deception, elusiveness, like dematerializing. The only way I can, and I want to be flamboyant and give people entertainment. The only way the old guy can get up there and prevail against these people 40-something years younger than I mean, I have to know some moves and some strategy and techniques and rely on my training from years ago. But is, project what you're going to do, like think I'm going to strike this person on the shoulder. All of a sudden you let your weapon, which is a ballsy thing to do, let your weapon drop and catch it. And suddenly you're on, and that momentum transfer and that speed transfers through the 2.5 foot blade. They're actual steel blades, but they approximate real weaponry. Go down and suddenly that tip traveled it. If it was a whip, it would make a crack because it breaks the sound barrier. Suddenly that tip is down there and you don't even see it coming. So it's deception. It's like a magician. That's what I try to be. I try to be like a magician on stage. That's the only way I can prevail because these people these younger guys have a lot more wind than I do.
And wait a minute. Hold on, Carl.
Yes.
No, she's still there.
Oh, because I've been talking through all these questions that people are probably trying to ask,
She's still there. It didn't work.
Oh, okay. But another thing I can do that I can compete actually best the young guys, and I'm talking people in their mid-late 20s. I can run faster than anybody. I still have that. I can still run faster than the young guys. I can sprint. I'm not wiry, but I can sprint faster. I can negotiate myself on a hike through woods and everything. I still have some of my old gifts.
You're very active. I know you do a lot of walking.
A lot of that, yeah. I didn't have a car for 9 months, so I do now. But
the only way I'm going to happen to meet Carl is if I tie their legs together, and I can actually, I can outrun them then. That's the running part. Now they might outcrawl me. Because the way I walk, they might outcrawl me to that point. And I'm walking, but it's about right.
But I can go rabbit trailing because any of these topics, I can tie them back into demonology somehow.
No, they got a bunch of nice. If you still do the walking thing, once you come there, they have a bunch of nature trails and stuff like that.
Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah, I would.
And it's actually quite beautiful. It is. You can see the swamp and especially at the lake. You can see Sunset Point. Look, there's PDX. She's that's actually, I want to say Washington. She's from Washington. I want to get her mad at me. She's from Washington.
Okay, I got it.
She's from Oregon. She's from Oregon. So,
hi.
Yeah.
I hope I'm at least entertaining because I haven't given anybody a chance to ask a question in a while.
It's not a lot of questions coming in. There's just a lot of comments. There's not questions. Lisa, thank you for the happy National Paranormal Day. Is that today?
Yes, that's right. I was going to wish you at the start and I didn't think of it after. Happy Paranormal Day. This is National Paranormal Day. which I guess some people are celebrating. I'm celebrating it by coming onto your show.
There you go. Look at them. Tell them Washington people are they mean. Look at them.
Grr. Oh, what's grr? Is that demonic or is that?
Yeah.
She could be. Yeah.
It's kind of inviting. Grr and hey. Who is this lady?
She's a host on Holy Trinity and on the Petri Dish and on Hey Boo.
She's expressive.
Oh yes, I love her. She's like the female version of me on, as in the craziness part. There she is. Oh my God. Awesome. J Mac and I are going to stay at a haunted hotel tonight.
Wow. For those who have the means, I highly recommend it.
I don't know. They might be. Are you staying at your house again? In the bedroom? That thing is haunted. I've seen some things in that bedroom that shouldn't be seen. Just being honest with you. I got videos. Oh, it's not funny. Not to be mentioned on this show.
See, I was going to get into poltergeist, but this is more fun. What we're saying now.
It is. I'll say that after the show, Carl. But
yeah. If anybody has a chance to see a poltergeist, that's kind of the ultimate experience. That's like an Epicurean will say the ultimate dining experience, the ultimate in paranormal investigation. I think is to see a poltergeist. I've been fortunate enough to. But holy shit, thunder just rattled in our house. Oh, see what happens when you talk about these things?
She's on the eastern. Western Seaboard.
She's rattled in their house or rattled their house, and she felt it inside. Yeah, wow.
I mean, she's out there in no country. I mean, it's not. It's Oregon.
Oh yeah, I get it.
I mean, it's just out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's woods and rain.
An echo. Yeah, that's out there. I've heard good things about Oregon. Like it.
I don't know, because she was doing a live with us while she was driving, and this is on the same day, Carl. The first time she was driving, she actually left her mic on. She was doing a live on her cell phone, and she left her mic on, a wireless mic, and she forgot to turn it off. And she stopped off at a gas station to go to the bathroom, and you can hear everything that she was doing in the bathroom. And then she comes back and she forgot. Oh my God, I forgot to turn my mic off. And yeah, it was embarrassing for her. So she gets off of that show and she comes on the next our show, and was doing I think it was a Petri Dish, yeah. And she's talking on everything. She had a phone up there and was in the rearview mirror and everything. Yeah, that's right. I'm telling on you, woman. And and then she gets pulled over by the popo. The popo's pulling her over.
Wow.
You can hear the lights in the car behind her.
And you interpret. Yeah.
She slapped that phone down, and you can see underneath the seat. She's trying to reach for the phone. She's trying to turn it off. Oh my! This is doing a live now. This is how these shows roll. I mean,
OMFG. I think I can get it.
Oh my effing God!
Yeah, that's gotta be it.
And there's Beth laughing my A off, and then I think Howard said, "How I'm going to set you up all from Louisiana to Oregon." I didn't set you up. You just got pulled over by the popo.
Quite a banter going on with her.
Yeah, she's something. She's fun. She is fun, and she'll be at Fear Fest.
Oh, good. Meet her there.
So there's a lot of people that's in the paranormal that you've seen. Might have interviewed you and stuff like that, and other people in the paranormal field that's going to be there. And I'm working on some other special guests that's going to be coming in. I'm waiting to hear back from them, and hopefully they'll accept. But I don't know. You have a hell of a reach. No, I don't have a hell of a reach.
Yeah.
What I'm working on some.
Understand the context of what you have a hell of a reach.
Hell of a reach. So she just says.
You reach a lot of people. You have a broad audience.
Oh no, that means
you have a hell of a reach. Yeah.
In other words, where she's at, I can actually do these things where it's from Louisiana to Oregon. She says I have one hell of a reach to actually have her police stop her and everything else.
Yeah.
So no, it's not. No, I don't have that kind of reach to actually call up a cop over there and say pull her over. You know, it doesn't work that way.
You don't have that much connection, huh?
No. I can get out of stuff. Now, let's put it this way. I told people when they come down here and they want to get drunk and rowdy and everything, to put their bail money in an envelope and put my name on it and give it to me, and I'll hold your bail money. And when you get arrested, because Howard knows where to run. Okay. If something happens, Howard knows where to run, and Howard ain't going to go to jail. You're going to go to jail, but I'm not going to go to jail. Let's put it that way. And when y'all call me up to get your bail money, you're going to hear this on my phone. Beep. The numbers you've reached now is no longer in service. Please try again later. Beep. And then just let it go like that. I'm not going to answer that phone when you get arrested. I'm just saying, just leave me your bail money. Just leave the bail money for me, and I'll take care of it for you.
Oh gosh.
Oh,
But
yeah, we're gonna have some fun. We're definitely gonna have some
I can
fun.
tell that already. I'm starting to already talk like you. I mean, can I?
There you go.
Lapse into that? Now, would I be believable? Is what I want to know.
I'll bring you down to Terrebonne Parish, and in about 2 days you'll be talking French. You ever seen a water boy and that big fat coach guy who's another day? He's just from the water boy with Madam Sandler.
Oh, you get me. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you're gonna sound like. Matter of fact, I dress like that some days. I mean,
Adam Sandler had that way. I like his voice. He would laugh into, you know. Yeah.
I mean, I have those characters on my phone. I mean, on my Facebook page. I mean, on here. It's like this is Bobby Boucher's daddy. See up in the top corner, the right-hand corner? Is Bobby Boucher daddy?
Yes, I do. Oh, you had to get that so fast. You had that.
Oh yeah, I got to him. I had the other guy. I guess I deleted him. My favorite Halloween. They have a lot of people to put up different pictures for Halloween, Carl. And yeah, I mean they always change their profile. You know, they always change their profile picture, and that's my profile picture right here. When I put that guy up, and that's from that commercial where he's a massive serial killer, but they have all these kids that are running through there. It's a funny commercial. And they standing down there and they're like, oh my God, here comes the chainsaw murderer. Where should we go? And there's a shed full of chainsaws and knives and things hanging up, and there's a running car. There's a running car. No, that's scary. Let's go into that shed where all the chainsaws and knives are. So they all and he's standing right there and he lifts his mask up and he just shakes his head like that. It's funny, God, Lord, it's funny. Oh. So that's my favorite one.
I don't know. What keeps us going in the past? Why are we interested in boogie woogies and things we can't see and things that go bump in the night? I mean, is it because they're mysterious? We don't know all about them, or what do they offer?
No, maybe I think it's because when we were children, also, our parents told us these things to keep us in line. Yeah. So it's always they take our worst fears as in.
We always had that fear instilled into us, but it's kind of like the thrill of being naughty.
You know, well, it comes from a primal. I mean, if you think about it, it's a primal effect. We were born to be afraid from being. You know, we're not that far from being a primate. You know, it's like one, two genes of that from being a primate, and they've always been fearful of spiders and snakes. So I mean, you're always going to keep that fear of spiders, snakes, rats, all those things that's native to. I mean, that's automatically in tune to us. So that's what we're going to have a fear of. And of course, being more advanced, we just embellish on that.
Yeah, we're advanced primates. We're pretty interesting species. The way we can manipulate our environment.
I'm not saying we're not a bunch of monkeys or anything, but I'm just saying, as advanced primates or whatever you want to call us, we have a way to embellish our imagination, and we just made something instead of a spider, we made it into something bigger and badder and scarier. You know, that thing that's under the bed. You know, instead of being that little spider that's coming out that we're afraid of, now we just made it bigger, and we just over time embellish it.
It's not funny. The instinctual, it's our brains are hardwired to dread some things. You know,
right?
Well, some things are good, like fear of heights, and
that's my thoughts anyway.
Bears, yeah. What's
I
that?
mean, those are my thoughts on it anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it. I mean, what I think. Then there's other things. I mean, it does not necessarily be what I think. It could be what you think. You know, why we're. That's why one of the things we're doing at Fear Fest is actually having a workshop, and we're taking
Oh,
children. We're taking children and try to explain to them what is spirit, and teach them that spirit is not the boogeyman. It's not that thing that's in your closet. It's not that thing that's
right.
crawling from underneath your bed. It could be a good thing. It could be something you can communicate with. It's something you can, talk to and try to help, if they want to help them move on. Our future paranormal investigators and our future,
Yeah.
you know, uh, demonologists and things of that.
Yeah.
That's our
I'd
future,
like to
and
be
we try
part
to
of
teach
that.
them.
Yes.
Right, and that's what we're looking to
Well,
do also is teach them that.
some people would object to it, but then there's a principle I call cocoon thinking, where people just don't want to acknowledge there's another reality or any of these things that happen can't be
Well, if they
explained.
don't want them to, if they don't want their children to learn about it, then they shouldn't bring them to a thing called
Yeah.
Fear Fest. That's ran by paranormal
One would think
investigators.
you're steering our children astray, but yeah, I think
No, it's
demonology
not.
for children. How about that? Boy, that'll be
Yeah.
controversial.
Well, would it?
Take
That would be
here.
something good. You could teach it if you want to, Carl.
I might use a little different terminology for it, like wicked spirits thing, something like
I
that.
wouldn't even call it. I would make it more like
Oh,
Barney on,
good one.
the bad Barney.
Boogeyman.
Bad Barney. Bad Barney's not so bad.
That party, yeah. The concept of a boogeyman, am I to instill fear in me, of course, but my parents taught myself, my brother, and my sister about the boogeyman. That was terrifying. The boogeyman, because I assumed he was real. And I got all these kind of visuals. I still got it, how the boogeyman would look and what he smelled like, very foul and bituminous and oily. And yeah, it was pretty scary. But
Well, this is something for you to know, Carl. We're about from my house. Actually, we're about what 5 minutes, 7 minutes away from the event, Jackie.
oh yeah.
And
You
then
know,
I mean, it was right around the corner for us. And then, but from my house, we're only about 15, 20 minutes away from where the Honey Island Swamp Monster is supposedly lurking.
oh,
So
I've heard of him. Yeah.
we can.
I was a
I know.
Bigfoot researcher for a while.
I know Dana Holyfield. She's a good friend of mine, and I
I've
talked
heard
to
of
Dana and that Harlan Ford is her grandfather, and he was the first person to actually take pictures of the Honey Island Swamp Monster and get tracks of the Honey Island Swamp Monster. And she's got all that, and she goes out there and looks for that for him all the time, just to go out there and see about looking for tracks and things of that nature. Maybe
Yeah.
we can get on a boat or something. We can go
I'd
hunt
like
the Honey
that
Island
because
Swamp Monster or something.
I can relate because I was a Bigfoot hunter a Bigfoot researcher for 4 years.
This thing's totally different from a Bigfoot.
What is it
Because
like?
this thing, it's got big feet, but the thing is, it's adapted to the swamp. And instead of having just padded feet, it's actually got claws at the end of this thing. It actually dig
That
into
would
the mud
make sense for that kind of environment.
because it has to grab through that mud.
Yeah.
So I guess evolution.
Well, that makes it seem more viable, doesn't it? That it actually has something that would be useful.
And this thing does not like pigs. It does not like pigs.
Oh,
I mean, it'll kill a pig just to kill it, and it won't eat it. It'll just kill a pig. It don't like pigs.
so it's not so much frightened of pigs; it's reviled by
Right, it just hates
pigs.
pigs. It'll kill a pig in a heartbeat.
Well,
And there's a lot of pigs out
not
there
even
too,
eating
wild
yet.
pigs.
There are wild pigs out there.
Yeah.
That can be scary. Scary.
I got one in the backyard.
Yep.
That's Lily.
Lily. Oh,
Yeah, that's her pig.
yeah.
And she goes about 500 and
Lily.
550, 575. She's about 550, 575
Oh.
pounds. She's a baby.
That's I've heard. They're very good. I have a
A
pig.
wild boar.
A wild boar, wild Russian boar. They call it wild. It's a Russian boar. Russian boar. Yeah. That's
So this
native
isn't a pet. This is something that's like
It's
it
a
comes
pet.
around. It is
It's
a pet.
Yeah. She goes out there and pets it and everything. She feeds it. I'll go out there and pet it and feed it.
It'll stick around if it's being fed. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah. You know what else we could talk about? Superpowers. doing things that we shouldn't be able to do, but do them. I've had a few superpowers. I've lost most of them. Well, one thing I can still do is I can manipulate, on some level, I can manipulate radio frequencies and physical objects with force of concentration.
Telekinesis?
Yeah, telekinesis is a good way to describe it. Moving the kinetic, energy force, kinesis. Make it like a paper umbrella. You'd fold paper and put it on top of a toothpick or some kind of stick and try to make it move with your mind. I've been able to make it move to the right, to the left. Now I'm going to make it do a half turn. Now I'm going to make it do 3 turns. Enough to convince myself. And I've done it before. I have done that. I used to be pretty good at it when I was young. I mean, I used to be able to change, not every time, but I succeeded at least once that I can remember. Change the face of a card, have a deck of cards, think about it, memorize it. Like I know, how many times am I going to look at it? I know that's the 3 of diamonds. Put that down and then pick it up later. Forget about it for a little while, then pick it up and it's changed. I will say I definitely succeeded in doing that once. And I even told myself, I was like 12, but I said, never forget that I did that. I'm going to grow up and I'm going to think I didn't do it. I'm just remember to correct. No, I want to remember that I did that. So I know I did. And I did it a year before last too. I was at a party and I was able to do that. And no, it wasn't even a year before last. It was a little more than a year ago, like in December. And I was able to do that, turn it around. A strange thing I could do, I don't know what this principle is. If it was chance, if it was actually something that transcends our physical limitations, I don't know. But I would be out in my friend Christian, who became my best friend and still is, Northeast. He's the, you might say, president. He's actually the grand master of this unit we have, this organization we have based in Oxford, Connecticut. Somewhat similar to Masonic lodges, but big differences too. Well, what I used to do, and this goes back to, well, let's see, how old would I have been there? I was 20 years old. He was a little younger than I. And I was 20 years old. And we used to not really play basketball, but shoot basketball through a hoop. And I had this thing I could do, which would amaze him. I would, the weight and the size of a basketball. I would take the basketball, toss it up in the air, and then I would punch it. And I would hit it in such a way and with such force that basketball would shoot up into it looked like the stratosphere, but the basketball would go up probably several hundred feet. It had to have been. The basketball would go up until you couldn't see it. Or you might see a little orange dot. It was virtually invisible. And that thing would take, about half a minute to come back down. And I would do it again and again. And the next day he'd say, do the basketball thing. He said, that's what you're doing is not possible. And I just toss it up and go about 6 feet in the air, come down, hit it in the center, and it would go out of sight. And it would take that long. But imagine about 30 seconds. I think the basketball is in space now. No, here it comes, coming down like that. I think I broke one of his basketballs, in fact, doing that. And I thought about it later. I shouldn't be able to do that. That's not a human thing. That's what you see on a special about, bizarre abilities or something, And I was able
Didn't they have a show about that a long time ago?
Yeah, it was,
Amazing something.
It was called Superhuman. And Stan Lee,
They had another one.
the now late Stan Lee.
And they had another one that was called Amazing Something. Not Amazing Stories. It was Amazing Something. And it was about people with superhuman strength.
Amazing powers, perhaps. Yeah.
Like that.
Now, you could see a superhero if you could combine these powers or something. They would have one power to them. And they would do the impossible, what's physically impossible. What I did was impossible, physically. It should be a machine that could do that. I'd hit it just right. Such accuracy. And it would go straight up. It wouldn't go off to the side. trajectory would be straight, and it had azimuth to it, and it was pretty much straight up there. Now, flash ahead to like, I don't know what, 5 years ago, 4 years ago. I was in the backyard with my nephew, who's now 6 feet tall, but he's shorter than me then. But no, it was about 3 years ago. I said, I can do, you want to see something really strange? I can amaze you. My nephew, Sebastian, he's 13 now. No, 14, just turned 14. I said, watch this basketball. I toss it up. Bloop. I'd hit it and it would like spin. I wouldn't get it. I couldn't get it in the center. It would spin. It would go about 5 feet away. Dum, dum, dum. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's not what I'm trying to show you. That's not what I'm trying to show you. Watch. I tried it like a dozen times. I could not do that stunt. And I said, look, what I'm trying to show you is once you have to explain it, there's no fun in it. I said, what I used to be able to do is I could hit that ball and it would be a little dot. It would go out of sight and it would take a half minute to come back down. And he said, I know you did, Carl. I believe you. Yeah, but it's not the same thing. You're saying you believe me. I know you did. Yeah, I know you did. I could never do that again. Once I got away from doing that, I don't know how I hit it just right. Why can't I do it now? I thought I would break my wrist trying. Why can't I do it now? That was the superpower I had. Yeah.
Good night, Liz. Yeah, we're gonna be ready to call it a good night too, because Jackie is it's almost 10 o'clock here. That'd be 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
She has to be up at 4 o'clock. Well, she has to be
at work at 4 o'clock in the morning.
So yeah, I gotta get her off. She's gonna be yelling at me. You kept me up all night. You kept me up all night. I can hear it now. Yeah, because she was talking about that today. We were doing some errands, and she was like, "I ain't gonna stay up past 9 o'clock. I'm telling you now. It's 10 o'clock, and I kept you up past 9 o'clock." I know. But no, Carl, I'm definitely want you to come back on. If not on this show, but I can get you probably on next week's show on the Petri dish.
I would like that. Yeah.
Come on. Probably get you. Well, I don't know if I can get Shannon, because Shannon does shows. She goes to some kind of thing on Thursdays. She told me
Shannon is a member of Long Island Paranormal Investigators.
And I think they have meetings on Thursday.
Meetings where they review, it's basically evidence review. That takes place on Thursday nights. I think
that's a lot of evidence to keep doing that every Thursday.
Like about 7 to 10 p.m., 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. So that cuts into our time if it's a Thursday.
How many investigations these people go on? Because that's a lot of research to be, evidence to go over.
Shannon has gotten some results. Besides that, I like Lippy. I like the guys. I like their personnel. And they're pretty good at recording EVP because they keep at it. I think anybody would be if they keep at it. At least recorded an EVP in her house. She's saying, I'd really like to hear from a spirit. And she didn't think she'd be able to get one. She plays back a recording and the voice says, spirit. And I know that was an EVP because I heard it. But Shannon went into, I was looking at the name of the house. I can't think of it now. In Long Island, New York, and Shannon picked up something she didn't count on. The story is that Shannon that night, I believe it was, again, I did know the history, is 2019, or was it earlier, like 2017? Anyway, Shannon Michelle Collins went into this abandoned asylum, I believe it was, or some kind of mental institution that had been used for that for some time. Shannon picked up something, an attachment. In our terminology, an attachment is a spirit or some kind of spirit being, non-physical being, a personality that latches onto a living person, integrates with their mind. It actually infuses part of their mentality into the living person's mind, and they fuse, and it lives through that person. It piggybacks on the living person. And Shannon got an attachment, which enables her, or it does through her, to perform automatic writing. You've heard of that, like in a seance, or a channeler will perform automatic writing. We'll take a writing instrument and implement, and suddenly the hand starts writing. and is thought to be a spirit. Except Shannon's expresses itself through poetry. It's a
I know
spirit.
that's what I find fascinating. I mean, that's
A
what I
spirit
told
that
her.
wants to be heard. You know, the great human strife. You know, I want to be heard. I am. I existed, or I exist, and the spirit wants to come through and let people know it's there, and does poetry writing. Now that's the story of what happened to it then. Yeah. I've
I
seen a
just find it
video of it
fascinating.
taken over by it. I mean, it's a form of possession in a way when you think about it, like channeling is. The
Right.
only thing is, a channeler can pull it back. Somebody like a medium, a spirit medium, a trance medium can let the spirit take over for a while, again, in theory, uh, and let that personality express itself. And then it goes away, and the channeler is not harmed by it. I'm sure it can go awry sometimes. But that's
I'm
the
just
fascinating.
worried. I told her I'm worried about that. Because she's changed so much, supposedly, and I
Yeah.
just think maybe this thing might have more of a hold on it than what people might think. So I just told her
Yeah.
just be careful with her gift. I know she's gifted, but just be careful with it. It's just like any gift, people could take advantage of it, and things
I
can take
think
advantage
she's
of it.
cautious about it. I think she has a respect for it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think she enjoys it. I think it's just there. And but she can, from what I understand, she can beckon it, but she can't always manifest it. She'll feel that it wants to come out, it wants to emerge, wants to express itself, and that's when she can effectively let it come through more than coax it to. You know, but apparently
But
this thing.
she sent me some videos of her channeling, and
Yep.
she told me, she said, you think I'm weird? And I said, no, it's just you. That's the way your gift works through you. I mean, I've seen stuff the way gift works through their other people's gifts work. I've seen how they work, their gifts work,
Yeah.
and if I was to sit back and say, yeah, that every one of them's weird, then yeah, I mean, there would be nobody wanting to share their gifts out there. But no, it's not weird what she's done and how she expresses her gift. I mean, like I said, I've seen, she sent me a couple of videos of her channeling it, and it is what it is. I mean, that's the way she channels, and that's, she's not running down the street bare ass naked or nothing. That's what I'm trying to say. Then, uh, that's, she's doing it in a proper way. She's doing it the way she feels like she could get spirit for her to come through. So I mean,
Yeah.
I can understand that, and I can relate to that. It's
And
just
it's
like
her
anything,
experience, so who can say? Who
right?
can say, you know?
We're not ones to judge. I mean, why should we? We can't judge, to be honest with you.
Right.
It's her spirit. It's the way she works with her spirit guide or whatever. How some people have spirit. I don't know. To me, I think that's what it is. It's more of a spirit guide.
Some of the things I saw when I was in Puerto Rico, I lived in Puerto Rico for 4 months a long time ago, and I was down there to study Santeria. I got stuck down there longer than I expected to, but I made friends down there. And um, you might think Puerto Rico was a fun place. It wasn't for me. Didn't get to the beach. I went on a boat once and, took a cruise around a bay, Santa Juanita Bay. I went out the dance clubs once, but mostly it was like losing a lot of weight because I didn't eat as much. But in Puerto Rico, I was studying Santeria, and the way they would take over, but to them, they took it very seriously. But to them, they were in control. They would let the spirit take over. Well, they weren't in control when the spirit was taking over them, but they could choose when the spirit would leave them. They would expunge the spirit from them. And it just was remarkable things because you were actually looking at a different personality. Even if it was a mental thing, a mental aberration at
You
the
got to
time.
kind of respect that
No,
too, because I mean, you have to
it was
look at
still
it. The spirit,
remarkable,
because the
nonetheless.
spirit's working with them. I mean, it's like, it's an understanding that the living person has with the spirit,
Yeah.
world, or the spirit itself, and understanding, hey, when I'm tired of having you in me, you have to get out. Period. I
Uh-huh.
mean, and
A pre-resolution
I think it's a
to that.
mutual respect, but that's what I
Uh-huh.
think, and that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. But the spirit would have dominion over the human mind. And like the human mind is a remarkable instrument. And what is spirit? I mean, what is thought really? We still haven't quantified what is thought, be it human or otherwise. Can it exist apart from the human mind, the human brain? Some evidence suggests that it does. And who's to say that if that thing is quantum and a holographic process and it's happening inside the brain, but you can't grasp it, you can't analyze it, you can't excise it, you can't study it under a microscope. If it's something quantum and not physical, except maybe a very rudimentary level, but it's not physical, then that essentially is a spirit. And so what if it is generated by the brain? It's still something non-physical. It's still something not temporal in the same way. It's an abstraction, and it's expressing itself. So that is another spirit. Now I'm just trying to analyze it, you know. But isn't that what spirit is? Something unseen, something with a mind, something with an intelligence, a volition. You know. So who's to say what somebody else's experience is? I don't know. I used to feel I was being taken over by a spirit when I was 13 and 14. I would have such mood changes, but subtle. It's not that I went around laughing and talking too much. This other personality would take over me, would seize control, and I enjoyed that. I would become glib, flippant, but still, you know, I'd have a sense of humor about it. Another me took over, but I couldn't always make it come out. It would like leave me when I didn't want it to, and it would come on when I didn't want it to. And so to me, how do I explain that? I mean, we didn't know about like bipolarism or, you know, mood swings, dissociative personality disorder. To me, it was a spirit coming into me and expressing itself for a while, and I would let it ride. I would let it take over me for a while, and then it would leave me. And I feel good when the spirit was in me. And I knew I didn't always have to stay in a good mood, so there wasn't that pressure. You know, it would leave after a while. It was more daring. It was more frivolous, but it wasn't stupid. You know, I could even speak better, more of an elocutionist when the spirit was taking over me. And now I think it was some kind of brain chemistry. And that's how I interpreted it because I wanted to explain it. And I enjoyed it. And I was into odd things. I liked anything that was really different. Also, there was a television show on at the time, a television series, an evening soap opera called Strange Paradise. And the star of it, I liked the show and I wanted to be him. He would be taken over by the spirit of his ancestor, who was an evil man, who was a Satanist 300 years before. And he made a deal with the spirit that the spirit could live through him, the spirit of his ancestor, who was his physical double.
What's the name of that show? Because I'm going to look this up.
Strange Paradise. Strange Paradise, starring Colin Fox, who's still living. He's about 87 now. I think he is. Colin Fox, Strange Paradise. And it took place on a Caribbean island, a small island called Maljardin, which means Garden of Evil in French, and the, you know, French-speaking area. And it's something like Martinique, but an island off Martinique, a fishing village. It took place in modern times, which was 1970. And the character was Jean-Paul Desmond. And he was of French descent, and he was a billionaire. This is when it was remarkable to be a millionaire, but he was a billionaire. Of course, now billionaire isn't as uncommon. But he was a billionaire, and that's how he could afford to have his own island, and that's how he could keep people captive. What happened to Jean-Paul Desmond is that his wife, Erica, died young and suddenly. He could not accept that. He refused to let his wife just be dead and never see her again. Because he was a billionaire, he had means to do something about it. He had her body frozen very quickly, although he was experimenting with cryonics. Then he jumped to another level when his wife Erica unexpectedly died. He had her frozen in a cryonics capsule. Now, this was not a legal thing for him to do. So he kept her body frozen in this state of, you could say, suspended animation, even though she had died. Her respiration had stopped, her bodily functions, but he had her frozen in that cryonics capsule.
And then he was a scientist, correct?
Yeah, yes, and someday she would be resurrected. But he couldn't let any of his guests go. He had 6 people on that island, and he couldn't let them go because they'd reported him to the authority. And he would say to them, he said, "And what would you?" One friend was a doctor. He said, they were all there because they were friends of the billionaire, but then he didn't let them leave. And he was saying, yes, and what would you do were I to free you? Wouldn't you immediately go to the authorities about me? He said, yes, I would, John Paul. What do you expect me to do? It's kind of a dumb thing to do. Like, no, I won't tell. But he kept them captive. And it was acted so good that it was actually, and it was like very low budget, but it was a counterpart to Dark Shadows, kind of like one that made a horror, gothic soap opera. And I just loved the cast. It was fun. And I wanted to be him. So then my mood swings become interpreted as another, and it was another personality taking over me. It was very real. I would get into my parents' booze and I would like give my friends, a party, but I didn't go around like setting fires or being malicious or I was just became glib. I was the party guy, and it was so profound a change. And then again, I was 13 years of age, so that's a formative time. I interpreted that as a spirit taking over me, and in essence, it was because it explained things that were happening, and my parents' house was becoming more haunted at that time. Always strange things happening. But it actually became to the point where things were disappearing around the house. And you get thumps on the wall answering us if we asked a question. And eerie how things just disappeared. And I'd see things move around. And eventually there was a ghost who would appear. That was a few years later. But okay, this all corroborated. The house is obviously haunted. I've got these mood swings. I like this cool television show. It was almost inevitable for my personality type that I would think a spirit was taking over me. And it accelerated me. I was happier as that spirit. I suddenly didn't have the same worries and cares about school and things, but about having a girlfriend. And by the time I got my first girlfriend, I was still going through these personality transformations. But I look upon that as educational. Because I'm learning, I actually turned it around. I said, no, this is not some invasive spirit. It's not what I want it to be. It's something of my mind, but it's still interesting. And I had a girlfriend, and she'd say, you're the other one now, aren't you? I said, what do you mean? She said, something changes in you. You're the other one. And I didn't tell her that. So that was great. Oh, you see him too, huh? Yeah.
Jackie says that she sees that in me.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Well, is it a
really?
good
It's real.
What?
Yep.
So, I got this big deep freezer right now, and that just gives me another idea. I'm just going to slip you in that big deep freezer and cryogenically freeze you.
Who?
I found episodes of that. If you watch that, I bet you get into it. I bet you'd like that show.
I know I would. I'll be watching it just for educational purposes, because I'm going to be slipping this one down there. I'm going to slip her. Yeah, I'm going to slip her in my deep freezer, and I'm going to see if that works.
Nah. That's
Come on, baby.
It helped me with my struggle with my lifelong struggle with depression and despondency.
That's okay.
It helped. It was a device. It helped me. It was role playing, except I accepted it. I embraced it as a reality, and eventually I grew out of it. By the time I was 16, I didn't care about it anymore. But I had other interests too. Then I got into Satanism. And you
had to get into everything. I tell people
I tried to be eclectic. I had to see the dark side, see how that works, and what really we are invoking, where we call forth these dark, mysterious powers. I saw some remarkable things that I don't know if you'd believe me if I told you some of the things I saw back then. I was able to conjure a demon. I did that more than once, and other people saw it. Started showing up in other places. And
I believe it, because that's what my daughter did that.
Oh yeah, and it's not always an unhealthy thing. Our culture condemns it. Yeah, so it's dangerous. People think I had some great epiphany that, like, now you battle demons now that you've emerged from the darkness, long ago. Actually, I just used it up. I got tired of that flavor. I did it for a while. It was my rebellion. And I enjoyed it. Then I was vastly exploited, though. A lot of people took advantage of me. Everybody wanted to do a news interview with a Satanist in Rhode Island. Um, but eventually I just tired of it. I was okay. It had its place. I absorbed everything I need to from this. I don't need to do it anymore.
Learning experience.
Yeah, very much a learning experience, a teaching experience for self-teaching. But I did experience a lot of paranormal phenomena back then. It was the house was haunted. I don't know how it became that way, but the house was younger than my brother and I. But by the time I was 20,
the land's haunted.
yeah, I was still like doing that when I was. Wait a minute, how old was I? I was still a Satanist when I was 23. But I was, I don't know. I kind of liked
Really,
myself.
woman?
I was back then. I had the deep voice. I could speak well. I could speak better then than I do now. I had more control over my vocal propensities. And I don't know. I used to lecture about Satanism. It was kind of cool at the time because there was still this little sense of foreboding about it. Like I'm doing something strange.
You're doing something evil. It's bad. It's
Yeah,
not
well,
good.
that was that. There was that little part of my mind that talked to me and said, suppose it isn't what I think. Suppose there really is the devil and he's, this is his deception. Suppose there are these evil forces. So I was a little trepidatious about it, but that was part of the fun of that was the excitement. And eventually I just got too used to it, didn't care about the props and the, dressing like a Satanist for a while, but it was okay for a while. It's kind
That's
of
what people don't understand. I mean, you tell them, okay, yeah, I was a Satanist, and you tell them now that you're a demonologist. First thing, they got about 10,000 demonologists out there. They call themselves demonologists and never studied not one thing about none of it. And they just say, "Oh, I can battle demons because I can open up the Bible and read
I
it."
studied a little bit
No,
about it.
that's not
demonology.
demonology.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's come for me. It's been experience. I've read a lot, of course, material, and I've written,
Right?
but
A lot of
it's been
research.
experiential, and it's
You have
been
to
I've
learn,
learned most through counseling people.
and you have to learn the good with the bad. I mean, the light and the dark. There's always yin and yang with this. I mean, you have to learn both. You just can't learn, oh, I know all about demonology, but you don't know nothing about theologians or something like that.
Yeah,
To me, you have to
I've had
learn
to,
both sides of it.
although not a formal study, I've had to become acquainted with the principles of psychiatric care and psychology and advances in psychology. It can only go so far for now, but suppressed trauma, like the quote from Sigmund Freud, those emotions become buried alive and they surface in uglier ways. Suppressed trauma, unresolved conflict. Every person has some of that in whatever society. Perhaps more so in ours because we're bombarded with so much stimuli and always need our distractions. But in every case where it has surfaced in a mellifluous way, when somebody is taken over by a demonic presence, there's always been some trauma. Always has been. I'm pretty traumatized, I think. So what the heck?
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm always
traumatized. Trauma.
Look what I'm married to. Look, come on. That woman.
Why would I have liquor if I wasn't traumatized?
I'm not an alcoholic no longer. I was alcoholic for
yes, you were.
years.
You were. I did not have I went a 2-month period just very recently. I broke my liquor fast 5 days ago. I did not have a drop of liquor for 2 months. I just kept forgetting to buy it, and I said, well, let's keep this going a little longer. Let's try to save some money on it. Not that I spent that much on it, but I just didn't have a drink for the first time in a long time. I didn't have a drink for 2 months. May not sound like much.
Stop drinking? You want to stop drinking? The best way to
How
do
would
it.
you do it?
If you want to drink, you can have a drink. Put a quarter in your mouth. A quarter. Oh, it could be a nickel. Put it in your mouth and you suck on that nickel. And when it dissolves, that's when you can have a drink. Not until then. You can't spit it out.
You suck on it. Suppose I swallow the nickel and I say, I must have dissolved it. I did it.
That doesn't work. Then you have to start all over again, put a new nickel in there. Gotta be honest with yourself.
I try to be. I am honest with myself, but sometimes I disappoint myself anyway. When I make resolutions and all that, They say if you
I
do
do that
something
on a
every
daily
day,
basis.
if you do it every day for 30 days, it becomes a habit. Now, I'd like to impose some habits. Yeah. Well, Miss Elise, she gets up at sunrise every day and walks out so she can see the sun rising. And she goes for a 1 mile walk. May not sound like much, but try to do that consistently.
Every day.
That's my time to go back to sleep. But I am awake at dawn and I stay that way, but I'm torpid and don't do much. She gets out there and walks for a mile. And I would just like to do that. But I have limitations that she doesn't have. I have a landlady that I try to avoid with whom I live. And yeah, there's no way to avoid the landlady because she's up at 5:30 and there's no way. And I like to take my shower and shave before I go out. There's no way I can get out without the landlady getting me for something, wanting a ride or something, or just talking to me. And but if it weren't for her, I'd probably be out taking my mile walk in the morning. But that'd be unique for me. I mean, I see the sunrise through the window. I don't go out there. I used to. I'd like to again. You know, the morning is very fresh. You can feel a real difference. There's something about the barometric pressure and the dew and everything is.
My dad told me different.
Different.
My dad told me different.
What did he tell you?
I don't know. I mean, that's your and I guess every father teaches their son something, or every parent teaches their child something. And my dad used to tell me, get up, and he'd wake us up early. He said, come outside and stand, and the sun wasn't even up yet. It was still dark, and you could just start seeing the daylight breaking. And he'll sit down there and he'll tell you, smell that air. And he said, that's fresh air. He said, that's before everybody got up and ruined it with piss and shitting and everything else. Yeah. That's the freshest air you're going to get before the end of the day, because at the end of the day, it's nothing but crap.
Yeah, I'd say that there's a subtle change. Like that's Bram Stoker cites that in Dracula. Jonathan Harker feels that subtle change from night to day.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and there is a change. That's when it's actually coolest, right when the sun starts coming up. For some reason, it could be the cold night. You can have a freeze at night, but it's coldest right before dawn.
Then you're able to feel the difference.
Oh yeah.
Change, you know,
because I worked night shift. I worked night shift for 15 years.
Oh, you saw a lot of sunrises.
I've seen the sun go down and the sun come up, and I know the difference between, you know, when they're talking about at 2 o'clock in the morning, there's a freeze warning or there's something. And it's always the coldest right before that sun comes up, or it's always the coolest during the day. If you have 90-degree weather, 100-degree weather outside, it's always the coolest right before that sun comes up for some reason. And you can, and it's actually you can feel the energy, you can feel the atmosphere, the pressure. It's a wholly different animal compared to day or night. It's almost like it's mythical. It's magical, you could say, almost at that time.
You ever think of sunrise and sunset on another planet? What that must be like?
I don't know. That could be wicked. Mars. That could be freaky.
Well, that's why I bring it up, because the Martian sunset and sunrise they have been filmed, and it's wonderful to see a sunrise or a sunset on another world. Mm-hmm. It's not like it's the same sun, but on Mars, the sunrise and the sunsets are blue. They turn, instead of ruddy, they turn blue. And the sky in the daytime is pink.
Well, I'll tell you what, in the sunset, we have a place called Sunset Point. And you can go out there and watch the sunset over the lake.
Beautiful.
And it is gorgeous. You can see the every color. It's all these yellows and reds and oranges. You see some little bit of blues in that and everything. People have benches that set out along the lakefront. You can actually watch the sunset going down. And actually, if you turn the other way, you can actually see the sunrise. So that's pretty.
That sounds familiar. I wonder if I've heard of that. Was that like, did they televise that and talk about it? I don't know.
It's in Lake Pontchartrain. They always put people taking pictures of it and stuff like that. But yeah, that's on the lake every day. I mean, there's people that go out there and just to go see the sunrise and sunsets.
Must be beautiful. I don't even really. I do catch the New England. I have seen plenty of sunrises, but yeah, I don't get out there to look at it, to absorb it, to be touched by it, those feelings, those sensations. You know,
There's so
but
much humidity in the air, and it changes the colors in the sky and stuff like that. There's so much heat. You gotta
right.
look at the heat and the humidity, and it just makes everything more. It's like in the Caribbean, or you said Puerto Rico, or tropical isle type thing, and you just see those magical sunrises and sunsets.
Yes.
Because
Oh, it was different. It was different in the island. It was disturbing to me because I grew up in New England. I grew up with hills. I'm in Puerto Rico, and you actually see the firmament go down to the ground, to the ocean,
Mhm,
with the
mhm,
distance. The sun setting like it is hitting the ground. I had not
mhm.
experienced that before, and it was weird because we're on the island. I mean, they do have hills and a couple of mountain ranges, but limited.
Sort of like when you see on
Where
Pirates
I
of the
was, would go way
Caribbean.
down. I was,
It's like Pirates of the Caribbean when you see
yeah,
that part where the sun's setting into the
I've seen
ocean,
it in
and
a
I think it's
movie, but yeah,
World's End. I think it's something like that.
that was took some getting used to, and it was just disturbing, not horrifying, but it was interesting to actually see the sun go down to the ground level. It seemed like
Mhm.
it was.
You
It
just
way
see a
off,
little
way
bit of
off.
it just finally just
Yeah,
disappearing, and
I
all
will
this
watch
and
that.
that.
It was a sensation I had not had before that. I hadn't experienced that. Yeah, Puerto Rico was weird atmospheric conditions. Um,
It's
when I
basically the
got off
same thing on Florida
the plane,
or
I had
anything like that.
sweat on my upper lip, and that sweat stayed there. Not the same sweat; it was replaced, but the same sweat on my filter, my upper lip, and all that.
Yeah.
That stayed for 4 months, and I had that every day. Yeah. Puerto Rico was magical in a way. Again, there were things that were impossible that happened there, but they did. You know, basically a miserable experience, but I learned some things. You know.
Well, you coming this time, and it's not that do a show or anything. You get, I guess you guest speaking for maybe one day, but you basically have a 3 day vacation down here, and you'll be able to go anywhere you want and just visit Louisiana, just take a tour of the place and
I like
see
that.
what we're about.
Yeah, well, I can't get my para partner down there. She has far too many experience responsibilities in Rhode Island. But I think Elise is tougher than I am. Well, she's younger. She should be. But Elise, after her mile walk, she takes a cold shower. But I mean, she doesn't warm it up. She turns on the cold and does that thing. That's a little bit beyond me. That's waking up too fast.
Come on, baby, I'll go outside and hose you off. How's that
No,
sound?
that's okay.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
Um,
Oh, if you do
um,
it for charity, you can like expose it. Fear fest. Well, justification to Fear Fest. Let me do that. Yeah. Uh, well, I'll be skinny by the time I get down to New Orleans.
Hey,
No,
Solo, what's going on, brother?
yeah. So
You're
what's
not
happening
late. We're
now?
getting ready to go.
Have
Everybody's
people
just
given up on us?
yeah,
Rabbit
they got
trailing?
quite yeah,
Yeah.
they people going to bed.
Yeah.
This is late for us. We're 3 hours. We only used to be a 2 hour show, and we're 3 hours into this show. So
Well,
that's
just because you got me, I'm going to
oh no,
talk.
I love it. I love talking to you. You know that. I can sit there and talk for a while, but I just know that Jackie needs to go to bed. And she's what
Yeah,
you're
we
gonna
should
be.
call it a night.
And she's got to
Uh,
be up at what at 3 o'clock,
oh,
and
that's
she got to
right.
be at work for
Wait a
4.
minute. Are we doing this to you? Are we torturing?
No,
You're the one who has to get up at that time? Oh my God.
I gotta go work.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah, to do
Yeah,
that. Yeah. Well, I just like to, as far as losing weight, I would like to get under 200 pounds for a good reason, not illness or anything, just for a good
I
reason.
like to just get rid of my belly. I don't care how much I weigh, just get
Well,
rid of my
yeah,
belly.
I aspire to. I don't know if that can be,
You come down here, I'm gonna fatten you back up, so it's all good.
yeah,
Try to
I
lose as
think
much as you can.
Elise would say she's not in good shape, but she is. I mean, she
She's an
is.
attractive woman. She is.
Oh my gosh, she's something else.
I'm not
She's
saying
skinny.
that my baby's beautiful down there. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I
I
know
see.
she
I
is.
see that.
But
Yeah, but I showed you a picture of Elise. She's a doll. She's a living doll. She's
she's
very.
tired. She says she's got the circles and everything
Oh
going on
yeah.
right now. I see her right now.
Well, I'm getting there only because I'm sick of hearing my own voice. But
Ah,
well, I'm not so sick that I can't use it. So sick of it. I will talk more. But yeah,
no, I'm gonna get you back on definitely next week
I would
for
love that
this
because
on Petri dish.
what do I
And I
want?
know
What do
that
I want to get into next? I want to get into the poltergeist phenomenon related to other aspects of
that's
paranormal
cool.
research.
I mean, I have some I'll have Anthony and I'll have Emmy
Yeah.
on. And they're two paranormal investigation teams right there, other investigation teams.
Yeah.
And I know they'll have a lot of questions because I
Uh,
had Anthony's like, "You got Carl on tonight?" I said, "Yeah." Oh, and he's all
oh,
excited about it. So I know
yeah.
he's
I keep
excited to
leaning
meet you.
back in my chair, which makes me this tiny little person.
Yeah,
Looked up, yeah.
that's what I do
Uh,
too. I do the same.
well, I can even tie that into demonology because one of my definitions of a demon is a poltergeist with a really poor attitude. Because initially, it's hard to tell a demon from a poltergeist.
And you see what he's wearing around his neck, huh,
Wow.
Jackie?
Oh my word, it's
Cross.
remarkable. I have seen a poltergeist. I've seen it. They do remarkable things. What you got?
Oh, that's what I said. You see what you're wearing around your neck, and
Yeah.
I wear a cross all the time, and she's like, well, why you wear? Because that's just for protection. This has been blessed by the church.
Oh
Matter of
wow.
fact, Archbishop Hannon blessed
Okay.
that.
Bless that. That's wonderful. Mine was given to me by my co-author of Shadow Realms, Lana Jan Brock, and it's very precious to me. And it's stainless steel, but it
That's what
feels
this
like
is.
silver, but it doesn't tarnish. And I like the feel of it.
It's
It's
got the
heavy.
black on behind it, and then it's got the ends
Yep.
that's polished.
Wow, that's beautiful what you have there, and that stays with you all the time.
All the
Does it
time.
have
I
a
wear it all the time.
Does it have a special significance other than it's been blessed by the
No,
bishop? But it's
no.
so beautiful.
Matter of fact, my son has one. He has one sort of because we got him at the same time. And I wanted. Matter of fact, I got him right when we got married. Remember, Jackie?
Mhm.
And I gave one because my son was my best man, and
Ah,
so I got him a gift, and I got him a cross. And I had it blessed by the church with the Archbishop, and I gave him one, and I had one, and then of course for Jackie, I got her rosary beads and all that blessed by the church and everything for her. So she had all that. Everything's been blessed by the church, by the Archbishop. So I mean, I couldn't. Hey, I mean, I'm a third degree knight, so I mean, it was easy
oh
for me to
yes.
get that done.
Okay.
Get that done.
Right.
So,
Is it
so
Knights
there's
of
never a
Columbus?
shortage of there's not never enough shortage of holy water
I
here.
have some right in my briefcase downstairs. Yes, I do. Looking at
Oh, I got
something.
a gallon jug of it somewhere.
I'll
I got some in
refill when
my,
I get there. I don't know, but
my
you can't take that on a plane though. But
I got some for my kit, my cleansing kit. I got some.
oh
I
yes,
even got a.
I'm glad you have that basic equipment. I do.
That's
Let
what
me
I have
see.
to have. I have the sage. I have the Pablo sticks. I have the camphor.
Oh, camper, yes. You know what I didn't do enough of though, now that we're winding down, I should have done it before. I wanted to say some nice things about my friend in Indonesia. She lives in Jakarta, Indonesia, and she is a musician, as I said. Her father, Idris Sardi, was the preeminent musician in Indonesia. It was like a political title that he was a violinist and other instruments, but specialized as a violinist. And there's a statue of him in the Jakarta Conservatory of Music, of her father. And Zhang has posted a movie. She was in 10 movies, 11, she thinks, actually. And what a good little actress. You're looking at this 6-year-old, and you don't see an actress. You see the child doing her child things, but she was acting. She was acting a part, and playing with goats and things. But she was acting a part and had all this dialogue, and the kid pulls it off, and it's like, wow, you're a Bollywood star,
Bollywood, like
Bollywood.
Bollywood.
And I wanted to say that Zhang is my girlfriend, and I wanted to say that while she was listening, but that's too late. I
She'll
can
see the
you
rebroadcast.
can
Just
get in
tell her
touch
catch
with
the
me.
rebroadcast of this. You can watch the rebroadcast.
Yeah, yeah, she can.
There it
But
is.
fast forward to the end. Yeah,
It's
she's
it.
a doll. I didn't send you any picture of her, but she's there. But she's the real deal. She's a movie star, child actress, and did some filming when she was in her teens, and then she was in a soap opera in her mid-20s. A regular
Awesome.
role in a soap opera. She showed me pictures of it. It's like a little clip of it. It's just remarkable.
I'll show you some pictures when we get finished here. But let me cut this show because my wife, she's got to go to bed. And she's
That
gonna
time was a half an hour ago. We should have
Yeah,
done
I
that.
know.
We should have ended in a dignified way. We should have
I know.
stopped before I started talking about sunrises and sunsets on Mars. We should have, right before we got to that, probably around Neanderthal, we should have seen that as a cusp and started winding down, keeping it vital. But we'll make it right into, I'd like to talk about poltergeist or whatever we talk about it. We'll make it interesting, get right to the point next time.
Yeah, she's not going to be on next show. She does this show, and then she does Hey Boo, and that's a bunch of women that do that show. It's a women's show. So
maybe I'll call in
Hey
a question or something.
Yeah, there you go, Jackie.
I hope you had a good time, Jackie. You're an excellent co-host. You let us do most of the talking, of course, but that's what we do.
She's learning. She's learning.
I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I talk more than Hey Boo.
Yeah, I thought if I ever had a servitile demon, a servitor, I think my demon I would get would be like Joe Pesci. He'd be a Joe Pesci demon. That's what he'd look like. He wouldn't do me any good, So why do you call, do I amuse you? Am I a clown? So let me get it straight. You call me when you need something. But other than that, you don't bother with me, What's wrong with that scenario?
I mean, mine would be John Belushi.
Well, can you do miracles? Yeah. Can you bring me money at least? Can you do something? Yeah, I said, well, what good are you then as a demon? You called me, remember? Yeah. You piece of crap. You called me into your cesspool of a world,
There you go.
Yeah. But I said, yeah, this just isn't working out. Yeah. But that would be my interpretation of a demon. Yeah. Wouldn't do me any good. Yeah.
Neither me.
Because if it was an angel, he'd probably look like my brother. He'd look like a brighter me. Yeah, but
mine would be John Belushi.
Oh, yours would be John. Oh God, that's got some story.
From Animal House. I mean.
Oh yeah.
Blue
Yeah.
All right, look,
yeah.
we're going to end this show now, and we appreciate everyone coming on tonight. And thank you, Carl, for coming on tonight.
Thank you.
I said, you
edit this into a 45-minute show, and
this is actually like a 2-hour show, and we went to 3 hours and 11 minutes. So that's pretty.
Well, I hadn't talked to you for a while, except on the phone, so we had fun with it.
Yeah, we did. We're going to have fun next week too. I'm going to have some fun because those guys can talk all night. If you want, we can make that show last all night because that Jackie's not going to be on it, and that's even better.
Really?
If Elise,
well, you ain't going to be on.
I'd say to Elise,
I'll be sleeping Thursday nights.
No, Elise is probably in bed by now. I mean, she's heard enough of me. She doesn't, need to watch those. She knows my theories and my experiences. I tell you, I think it'd be a more dynamic show if we had Miss Elise on.
I know. I wanted her to come. I wanted her to come.
Well, she would introduce the principle of parapsychology.
I even had peanut M&Ms for the lady. I mean, come on.
I'm going to get her back on those. Yeah. Hey, what's the worst that happens? She doesn't eat them, and I get them. You had me craving po' boys, oysters. You've had me craving peanut M&Ms. Now I can't get any of these things unless I spend 3 times as much by going to the 24-hour CVS.
CVS, that ain't making me po' boy.
Yeah.
I don't even get pumpkin cream from CVS. I mean, I ain't gonna get nothing. No.
Yeah, but everything's more expensive there. If you're getting groceries, sometimes they'll have sale on cereals. That's about it. No, I want so many food stuff now. Things, I want to eat like a Neanderthal. Neanderthals never had chocolate. Did you ever contemplate the horror of that reality? No, you don't miss what you don't have. Neanderthals never.
That's right. They never had sugar.
They had natural sugars, but they would breastfeed until they were perhaps 5 years old. But after that, they would have no more milk, and that's why a lot of Neanderthal skeletons give evidence of rickets. It's not like nature came in and supplied that. No, they died when they were in their late 20s, early 30s, anyway.
Yeah, life expectancy.
What have we never had that's comparable? There's something like glip or whatever they call it. There's something we haven't had that's just wonderful, that hasn't been invented. Some kind of food. Yeah, you have to mix natural ingredients, and it's the most. It's like finding the chocolate bean,
right?
The cocoa bean. What have we not found on this planet that's a delicious flavor? I don't know. Yeah, we'll never know.
You never know.
But I miss it.
Like okay, how many licks it takes to get to the center?
I'm content with that. I'm going to buy myself a bag of peanut M&Ms tomorrow. I might tell Elise. I might leave one out for her. She'll get mad at me. She'll have it.
Leave a little trail out for her.
Like E.T. Yeah, I'll get you. I'll find you. I give her. I know
it up to the camera. You know, look. Here's another.
I got her Twix bag in the package of Twix in the refrigerator here.
Twix are good. I like Twix.
Welcome to our storage. You know, our archives. All right. It's so good to see both of you again, and you know, to actually get to know you, Jackie. I hope you'll be back again. But I'll see you.
Yeah, she'll definitely see her for Fear Fest. And you'll probably see her on some other shows and stuff.
Yeah, we'll make it scary. We're glib now, but we'll make it scary.
Yeah. Throw you in a closet somewhere.
Yeah, I'll bring my psychomantium. Yeah, put this up in a black light. You'll see what I can do. I'll get something done through that.
Yeah.
That's so pretty.
All
I
right.
might take it apart.
I'm going to end this show, Carl. We ain't got to end. We ain't got to stop.
Thank you, everybody. For the one person, did anybody actually stick with this whole show?
Yeah.
I've really got a fan if they did.
Miss Beth, Adventures in Beth.
I appreciate that.
And she is right there.
She did. She's still here. Thank you.
No, man, I may not be back after this. You're right. Jackie's going to kill me. Jackie will kill me.
Oh, sorry, Jackie.
It's okay.
Get you 4 hours of sleep. You get your REM cycle in anyway. Okay. Get your dreaming in. All right.
All right, guys. Thank y'all for watching, and we'll see y'all tomorrow.
I won't even hang around after the broadcast. We'll say good night, and I'll talk to you very soon.
We have Burning Red that's supposed to be coming on tomorrow night, and they're going to be performing Friday at Cinco de Mayo. So there's no show Friday because it's Cinco de Mayo.
That's right. Cinco de Mayo. Full moon. Full moon Cinco de Mayo.
And Jackie likes freaking Mexican food.
No, I'll be craving that. Like I said, I got fish sticks or chicken strips. Not
and you eating that down here? You're not going to eat that down here. So just put that out of your mind.
I'll be saturated with that. Okay, I'll put away my show and tell materials. I don't want to leave this out. I don't want to leave these things, the coffin-shaped Ouija board, for somebody to find tomorrow. When the treasurer comes in and starts doing his work here, I don't want to leave that around.
You got somebody else. Yeah, much love. Thank you, Beth.
I'll find some more weird photographs in graveyards for you. Okay, God bless.
All right, and y'all watch next. Like I said, tomorrow we got Burning Red supposed to be coming on, and there's going to be no show for Friday because that's Cinco de Mayo. That's a national holiday for Jackie. So
really,
I got to buy at least a bottle of tequila. She'll buy one for me.
I'll get her one of the margaritas or whatever they call it with the top shelf margarita, and she'll just go have
it. Yeah, you can get a mix. You can go in there. You know, it's not hard to do.
It's a big fish bowl.
Make it classy, but put salt around the edge. Make it a treat.
She has to pick it up. It's a big old bowl of this thing. You know, she just drink it like that. Use about with that gold, whatever that stuff is.
Cuervo Gold.
Cuervo Gold in it. Yeah, she would have to have a gallon of that in there or something. I don't know.
Makes me think of that Steely Dan song. Hey 19. Cuervo Gold. Night's so cold. Yeah. Take me back to where. Yeah, it was a good song. Mood evocative. Yeah, I got to have some too.
Let me end this right quick, and I can talk to you.
Tequila and peanut M&Ms. That's coming for me on Friday.
Thank y'all for watching tonight, and we'll see y'all next week. Next week on Paranormal Swamp Talk is Ernie, and I don't know about so much Denise Pack. She's gonna kill Ernie, so yeah, that'll be interesting to see. So we'll see y'all next week, and thank y'all for coming on and watching the show.
Okay, I should sleep well tonight.
not gonna run away.